Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Umineko. We somewhat abruptly finished Chapter 4, so today we're going to be starting with the tea party. I've been told there is a few other things I might have missed in the tip section, so we'll probably check that out after the two tea parties. And then, if by some miracle we have time, after a bit of theory crafting, we'll probably dive into Chapter 5. Who knows if we'll reach that tonight. Starting with the Chapter 4 tea party. Episode 4, the big old tea party. The second day, October 5th, 1986. Okay. Are we going back to our abruptly ended scenario? And we're just using the tea party to finish the scenario? A weird choice, but I mean, okay. That's how they want to do things. Kind of defeats the purpose of putting things in chapters. I don't have a clue what's going on. Me neither. Me neither. Battler? Question mark? Someone explain in a way even I can understand. What happened yesterday? I was in the kitchen of the mansion grabbing some food without permission. If you open up that massive business class refrigerator, you can find anything. You can eat and drink as much as you like. Even if the typhoon didn't clear up for a week, I'd have more than enough to eat. With wine in one hand, I was helping myself to some dry cured ham. Who is this? Is this Kumasawa? Natsuhi? I wonder just how expensive this wine and ham are. Your ingredients are out of luck too. If only you'd had Goda-san to cook you, you could have been reborn as much more incredible food. I looked at the clock. Very soon it would be 2400. It can't be. On October 5th, the second day would end. The insane October 4th yesterday seemed like a lie. Beatrice? No. Maria? No. Who lived? What's our current state? Who do we think is alive? Shannon? No, she's dead. These are all dead. Who's the person we think's alive? Kinzo. Debatably Battler. Maria. That's all we think's alive. But who would narrate like this? That's how much nothing had happened after that test thing. Nothing happened. No phone call came, no letters came. No person came, no one attacked me. Is it Battler? Nothing happened at all. I want to start demanding a refund on all the time and energy and tension stolen from me. Because after that, for an entire day, a full 24 hours, nothing happened. So surely nothing's gonna happen now. A full 24 hours ago, Beatrice called me to the spot in front of the mansion's entrance. There, I was given a strange test to determine the successor to the headship or whatever. I gave a serious answer in my own way, but it somehow hadn't meshed with the other side. Beatrice got pissed for no reason and fell silent. So we are basically continuing Chapter 4. They just claimed that the chapter abruptly ended. Alright. I'm not entirely opposed to this. I don't really like how they structured it. Like, I don't like the fact that it's in the tea room, which is supposed to be the after episode stuff. But I mean, I don't hate that they're finishing this up. Right, like, I don't hate that they're finishing this, but I just don't know why they decided to, like, abruptly kick us out of the chapter and send us into the tea room. I think that was kind of silly. But oh well. So Beatrice got pissed for no reason and fell silent. I yelled at her to try and say something, but she gave no answer. When I asked where Maria was, she just told me to go to the chapel and left. To tell the truth, it was an anticlimax. No matter what kind of weird test you give, at least tell me whether I've passed or failed. Are you trying to say thanks for coming? Your results will be mailed to you later or something? Quit messing with me. Anyway, I headed to the chapel. After failing their tests, both George, Aniki, and Jessica were killed. I couldn't let Maria get killed too, and I might get a chance to catch some person trying to kill her. As a little kid, I often heard from Jessica that you'd get in trouble if you went near the chapel. So I'd never been there, but I at least knew where it was. I couldn't find any trace of a person there, but there was a key bundle lying in front of the door. I thought this might be from someone telling me to open the door, but after trying all the keys, I found none of them fit. I called Maria's name, but there was no answer whatsoever. I searched around the chapel, but there was a limit to what I could do in the pitch black with just a flashlight. I realized this key bundle might be a set of master keys, which make it possible to open the door to the mansion. I found no sign of Maria, so I returned to the mansion. The mansion was wrapped in silence and in a horrible stench. However, it's amazing how good humans are at adapting. Is it possible that, like, the stench has been reoccurring in a lot of arcs? Even in ones where it doesn't quite make sense. Is it like there's a gas leak or something? Is there like a gas leak or something from the furnace and that's what's killing everybody? Like there's no murderer, everyone dies in the... Because we haven't seen the house. Your interpretation is that the chapter ended because Beato was done making moves on the game board. Possible. That's possible. I just thought it was strange that the scenario is continuing. If it was a post-scenario thing, I'd be interested. I'd be okay with it. I'd be more okay with it. It'd still be a bit iffy, but I'd be more okay with it. I feel like the tea room is supposed to be for stuff that happens after the episode, and this feels like it's still part of the episode, but if you want to say when the players are done making moves, that counts as the end, I guess that's okay. I'm just like, the smell's here, and I'm trying to wonder why the smell is here. Jessica's up top. A bunch of people got killed in the main room. A bunch of people supposedly got killed near the well. There shouldn't be any smell, right? Unless Kinzo killed himself. I guess, yeah, that's true. Okay, Beatrice did kill Kinzo. She did burn him alive and then threw him down, then told the demons to get rid of his body, right? So Gop probably threw him in the furnace. I wonder if we're seeing like everything as an abstraction and there's like a gas leak or some shit that's blowing up the house and killing everyone. Because NJ never went to the mansion, right? She went to Kuadori. She went to Kuadorian, the hidden side. That somehow, don't ask me how, somehow, some unbelievable way, they found out about the hidden other half of the mansion, I guess. And got on there, which is strange. I guess they maybe searched the island. I wonder how the Madeiras found the hidden half of the island. Oh well, it's not super important. I think that arc's dead and gone. But she never bothered to go to the main mansion, so we don't know if the main mansion's in ruins. Because, like, they seem to be talking like they could only salvage some stuff, so did the entire house get blown up? Like, what happened? They haven't really told us, so I can make, like, some very strange assumptions about what actually happened. Maybe the entirety of the main building and the guest house got destroyed by, like, a ruptured gas pipeline. Now, in that route, Ava might have done that intentionally, because she wanted the gold, but, like, maybe that's what's killing everybody. So he's only theorizing that people are dying, and it's like, I don't know, a gas leak is causing them to pass out and suffocate or some shit. Like, we're like, coming up with really off-the-walls theories, because, like, goat demons don't make sense. I guess Kinzo could have a sniper rifle and be an expert marksman, hunting his family down for sport, but that seems weird. As they supposedly had like 10 guards and had to fight through a bunch of stuff, so there should be like melted bars. There should be like a ton of weird evidence, but nobody's actually checking it out. It's amazing how good humans are at adapting. The inside of this mansion must still be wrapped in that smell. However, I grew completely used to it and stopped minding it. It didn't seem any worse than any old house where someone had burnt some meat. He never bothered investigating it. Hello? At first I was bewildered by the stench, but then I decided to head to the dining hall for the time being. And found the corpses that were so pitiful, Goda and the rest had hesitated to speak of them in detail. Oh, there we go. I hear the droplet sound, so our logs should be updated. Oh, there's the first 6. Goda. His corpse is found in the dining hall. Half his head was destroyed. Probably reasonable to assume he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. The witnesses don't believe that, though. Corpse found in the dining hall. Half her head destroyed. Probably reasonable to assume she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. Witnesses don't believe she was killed with a gun. Half his head was destroyed. Probably reasonable to assume he was murdered with a gun or something similar. Witnesses don't believe that's the case. Okay. And again. And again. The dialogue's all pretty much identical. So all these people basically got shot. Before we go back, can we check what that bitch has for her death certificate? She's officially not dead. Damn. Right, never mind. It was the remains of Aunt Natsuhi and the others who'd become the first victims. Half each head had been completely split open. The goat plot twist: the goat demons are normal goats. The typhoon just randomly picked up goats, and everyone thought they were demons because they fell from the sky. Half of each head had been completely split open. It was so gruesome, even without knowing a thing about examining the corpses, I could say they were 100% dead. And on top of that, the remaining halves of their faces were left like normal, so it was easy to identify them. Convenient corpses they were. In addition to those 6 bodies was one more. The 7th corpse was Maria. Wait, didn't she pass? Huh. She lay next to Aunt Rosa as though sleeping alongside her. And I cried. Hey, what's up, my dude? At the death of an innocent young girl. And at the cruel way my dad and the rest had died. I raced through the mansion, swinging the hat stand spear, yelling, "Come out here, bastard!" But I couldn't find any trace of anyone else. Thinking they might be planning to hide somewhere and attack me from behind, I went around searching for hiding places, sometimes growing more cautious, and sometimes intentionally letting my guard down in various ways, but in the end, not even a kitten appeared. What about Kinzo's study? Any attempt to go in there? Any attempt to go to the basement? Find Kinzo's body? Nope. Then morning came. My tension and fatigue combined with my drowsiness making for the worst kind of dawn. Humans are pretty incredible. Even when a murderer might be hiding somewhere, we prioritize drowsiness and fatigue over our own lives. By that time, I was starting to feel pretty ridiculous. After all, for a full 6 hours before dawn, I stalked the mansion yelling at the culprits to show themselves. My search had been a careful one, and I'd tired myself out and let my guard down. He still hasn't checked the chapel. Because he doesn't have the chapel key, I assume. Even so, no one came to attack me. Basically, I lost patience with them and figured they could do whatever the hell they wanted. The boat won't come until the typhoon passes. They said that on TV. It won't pass until tomorrow, so I got another full day today. Lazing about lost its interest. Even though I knew it would probably make the police mad, I decided to play detective for a bit. First was the dining hall where the very first murder occurred. The 6 who'd been killed in the beginning really were pitiful. The weapon used was probably a gun. Maybe their heads were split by something powerful like a magnum bullet or a shotgun. It was a reasonable theory. Compared to that, the 7th corpse, Maria, died in a much better, cleaner way. At a glance, I could see no external wounds and didn't understand how she'd been killed, but by her mouth were traces of bubbles she might have spat out. It looked like a typical death by poisoning you might see in a TV drama. Was Maria called out to the chapel and given a test? Why was she in the corpse-filled dining hall laying next to her mother dead? Even if the cause of death was poison, who gave it to her? Her clothes weren't disturbed at all. It's hard to imagine she was forcibly pushed down and given an injection of poison. It's better to assume she was given a capsule of some poison or something and made to swallow it. Compared to the scattered and violently mutilated corpses in this room, Maria's corpse was too clean. If they had a gun, they only needed to pull the trigger, but poisoning, whether by having her drink it or injection, would take a lot more effort. Considering the culprit's brutal nature, you'd think Maria's death alone was given special treatment. Why was only Maria given a sleep-like death? True, being killed is always a pitiful thing. How? Who's dead by now? We're at the end of we're in the post-Chapter 4 section. So far, he's found the bodies of the 6 original people, George and Maria. For whatever reason, despite the fact Beatrice explicitly said to check the chapel for Maria, Maria's corpse was found not in the chapel, but in the dining hall. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I guess she was sending us to get the keys and not check the chapel because there was no chapel key. For some reason, Maria's death alone seemed very courteous to me. Both of Maria's hands were joined on her chest as though the dead person had put them there herself. Did Maria do that herself before dying? Isn't this usually something done by someone else after the person dies? As though sleeping with her mother, whose head was half crushed, Maria dozed in peace, and for some reason the contrast really bugged me. Including the direct cause, it's probably safe to say Maria's death is shrouded in mystery. More than anything else, the biggest mystery of this dining hall were the pitfalls. It's rather strange, though. Like, Maria's dead. It doesn't really make sense considering she passed the test, so she shouldn't be dead. She passed the test with flying colors, so she shouldn't be dead. She should be the next successor. But she's gone for some reason. I guess we'll see if Midnight Tonight brings her back a la Beatrice. Like the true resurrection ceremony or some shit. And then Battler gets killed because then in the end everyone's dead. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense for Maria to be dead. As she wasn't even in the room with Kinzo when Beatrice threw a tantrum at him and killed him. And Beatrice kind of likes her. Beatrice actually likes Maria, so I don't really know why she'd randomly murder her and put her corpse here. It seems a little bit unusual. But whatever. The biggest mystery of this dining hall were the pitfalls. The pitfalls that both Uncle Krause's group and Goda-san's had mentioned. After the first 6 were killed, 5 more fell through pitfalls and were captured. What are pitfalls? Those things that suddenly open up and you fall through them, right? The room had a solid floor with a carpet that looked dignified if a bit worn out. No matter how you looked at it, it was a single piece. If a pitfall opened up, there would have to be a seam just in that place. And if there'd been a trick like a pitfall, wouldn't it creak when you walked on it? Maybe not. No matter how much I walked around feeling the carpet, I just couldn't imagine a pitfall was hidden here. Anyway, it's one thing if a single person fell, but a full 5 people. By putting together everyone's stories, each one of them had fallen from a different location. So at the very least, there had to be 5 separate places with pitfalls. What does this mean? Was this room actually made with pitfalls across the entire floor, so by pushing a button you could open up a pitfall in the location of your choice? Like some kind of contraption like that? That kind of ridiculousness, and that ridiculous mechanism would be surprising even in a ninja mansion. But not in the fortress of a comically over-the-top villain. But if Dad and the rest heard about this, I wonder if they'd say I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to do it, to make it. At any rate, I didn't learn anything more from the dining hall. Do the pitfalls not exist, or do they exist and I just can't find them, amateur that I am? I can't say for sure. Since they claimed the pitfalls were there, I can't ignore them even if I can't find them. The next to be killed were Jessica and George Anarchy. I discovered George when I'd been called out for my test. He'd been called out to the arbor in the rose garden and probably shot in the forehead with a gun. Jessica had been called to her own room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. The door to her room was unlocked, but that wasn't a problem, or was locked, but that's not a problem since I have a master key. In her room, it was horrible. After the dining hall, I was used to corpses, so I built up a bit of an immunity. Note that there is a blood splatter and what looks like a bullet hole in the wall in the wall there, so she probably got shot in the head as well. The phone receiver was loose and dangling. Had she been killed while still on the phone with me? Jessica was leaning against the wall right next to it. Okay, so this picture's inaccurate, based on the description. Jessica leaning on the wall right next to a phone. And then visually, we see a corpse lying in the middle of a room, a blood splatter on the wall, and a clear bullet hole in it. Bit inconsistent there, guys. I can see the phone, though, but she's not near the wall. She's not against a wall at all. Like, maybe you could argue that she's pretty close to this wall? But it seems to me like, based on the positioning, she's behind the chair. She's behind the chair and not against the wall, but, like, if anything, she's lying close to... She's not really lying somewhere... Ah, whatever. It doesn't matter. I guess I see the phone. I would have expected her to be leaning against the wall next to the phone, not the wall, like, adjacent to the window, or, like, right below the window. With half of her head split open. As far as I could tell by glancing at the scene, it looked as though she had been killed while on the phone. In that case, had the culprit been right there before her eyes? I hadn't gotten that impression while listening to Jessica's voice over the phone. I'm pretty sure Jessica said, "They got me." It's probably best to assume she'd already received a fatal wound at the time of the phone call. And that's right, and she also said this. When you come, Battler, I'll be a corpse with half of its head split open. That's what she said. From what I could tell by looking at Jessica's corpse, there were no wounds on her other than the damage to her head. Could she have had an injury serious enough to make her prepared for death and then died halfway through the phone call? But the way she talked on the phone made me think she'd escaped harm for the time being. You shouldn't be able to have a casual conversation over a phone if the culprit's right before your eyes. Now, this isn't meta, Battler, because otherwise I'd say clearly at least someone in your family has is fairly tough. As NJ is pretty focused. Certainly has Die Hard. There's no way you get torn to pieces until you're a pulp and manage to casually hold a conversation through like 90% of that process till you're actually dead. Did the culprit come partway through the phone call and kill Jessica? Maybe. That can't be right. After all, this room was locked. Wait, that doesn't tell me anything. The culprit could have had keys. If the culprit stole a master key from one of the victims, locking the door is meaningless. But she had no external wounds other than her head. In that case, should I assume the fatal wound she was prepared to die from and the actual external wound that damaged her head are two different things? That both of them are made to the same part of the body? In other words, Jessica was struck severely to the head and received an incredibly bad wound. Then she called me and either lost consciousness or died while on the phone. Then the culprit came, damaging her head again, something like that. After being called to this room, Jessica was attacked by the culprit and received a serious injury. Then the culprit thought she'd been killed, went away for the time being. But Jessica miraculously started breathing again and called me with what would be her dying message. Then the culprit realized they failed to kill her and rushed back to deliver the final blow after Jessica fell unconscious from massive blood loss. That seems to add up more or less, except for how Jessica was able to accurately predict the nature of the final blow. There was one more thing that bugged me about the phone call from Jessica. I mean, that's how the killers killed everybody else, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just do the same thing to her. Jessica said this. George Nisan's done for too. Was an instant death. She said it almost as though she'd witnessed George Anarchy being killed. But while you certainly could see the rose garden from the window in Jessica's room, and you could even see the roof of the arbor where George Anarchy had been summoned, it was very far away. Add on that, it was the night of a typhoon, and it's very hard to imagine she was able to witness everything that happened by the arbor from this window. More than anything else, Jessica left before George Anarchy, so she shouldn't have known that George Anarchy's test took place by the arbor. Why did Jessica know that George Anarchy had been killed? Nope. Do we have the papers that prove that was the question they were asked? I'm just curious. That's what I'm curious about, because he hasn't mentioned finding the papers with their tests on them. So, for all we know, I know what Beatrice told him, but for all we know, they were given different questions. or their bodies were moved or something. Like we only have third person perspective, and the fact that they ended up in those locations and that they were sent to those we know we were sent to those locations. We don't know that what happened to them during the time they were at those locations, and then we don't know anything other than what Jessica and Kyrie told us. So like it's possible she moved from the location, and it's possible that she was just held at gunpoint to make a decision, and then she was informed via radio or something that George was killed. Don't assume the magic is real. During my search of the entire mansion, I found Kyrie-san's corpse as well. It was in one of the old guest rooms at the back of the first floor. In the past, before the construction of the guest house, the relatives had spent the night in these. So, was the room locked? And are there like bullet holes in the floor or wall, indicating that her opponent missed and she was trying to call because she was like trapped? Kyrie-san's situation matched Jessica's perfectly. She'd probably been killed during her phone call with me. The receiver was hanging untidily and Kyrie-san lay crumpled in the corner. But the way she'd been killed was different from Jessica. Her head wasn't smashed. Instead, a stake with an occult design was buried in her forehead. It was so gruesome I pulled it out. After pulling it, I realized this might get me into trouble with the police later, so a little too late I set it down by Kyrie-san's side. Its tip was sharp and stained with enough blood it must have been penetrated fully to the brain. I didn't know what kind of metal it was made of, but it was about as heavy as a paperweight. Certainly if you were stabbed all out with something like this, it might cause a terrible wound. I probably knew what the stake meant. It's one of those. The style of killing from the fourth Twilight onwards is in the witch's epitaph. It's probably that gouge with a stake and kill thing. However, a human skull is very firm. No matter how much someone mustered their strength, could it really have been pierced so neatly? No, but by my reasoning, this stake wasn't the cause of death. It'd just been used to damage the corpse after death. She probably was killed with a gun or something like George Anarchy, and the stake was stuck into the hole left by the gun. Thinking of it that way makes it a little easier to accept. Okay. Was Kyrie-san really killed with a gun? As she said on the phone, even though she was holed up inside a locked room, Kyrie-san was being attacked. In fact, this room had been locked. Also, she mentioned a golden thread or something flying in and attacking her. In fact, there were 4 places around Kyrie-san's corpse with holes that could have been caused by some kind of attack, but a golden thread attacked her? Through the keyhole. I looked at the door from Kyrie-san's perspective. If it had been one of those old keyholes you see in old mystery movies where you can peek into the other side, then it would have clearly been possible to stick something through it. Even though the doors in this mansion are old-fashioned, the locks were the familiar average cylinder style you could find in any normal house. Hey, how's it going, dude? How's it going, my dude? In other words, they aren't constructed in a way that would let you penetrate through them. No matter how thin an object you might try to stick through the keyhole, it's unthinkable something penetrated through from the outside and attacked. A cylinder lock and a keyhole? Despite that, Kyrie-san definitely said something like a golden thread had flown in through the keyhole, spun around while aiming for her, and attacked her. A golden thread attacking you through a keyhole. I couldn't understand what it meant at all. Even so, Kyrie probably predicted that I wouldn't be able to understand all this. And it wasn't just Kyrie-san. Jessica said it over the phone too. Oh, since the very beginning, from the time we talked with Goda-san and Kuma-san and got the call from Uncle Krause's group, everyone said the same consistent thing. Grandfather summoned witches and demons and is killing people with magic. They'd been shown that right before their eyes. These weren't tricks or fakes. There was no choice but to believe it. With one voice, they'd all said that. When the mystery woman calling herself Beatrice appeared, even I had pretty much believed that she was the real witch, and might start summoning goat monsters right and left. However, after being left alone for a whole day, my feeling of tension had faded completely. I was now able to think that something that's so stupid definitely couldn't be true. Did they lose their heads a little in the extraordinary situation where their lives were exposed to danger and mistakenly think a witch was attacking them with magic? But multiple people gave the same kind of testimony, and on top of that, none of their opinions conflicted each other. If it had just been a single statement, I'd be able to suspect they didn't see what they thought they saw, but doing that now is pretty difficult. Then, right next to the back door, I found Uncle Krause with his head half smashed. Even though he'd escaped the dungeon of Kuadorian and somehow made it this far by a secret underground passage, he'd been killed. Buried into the gruesome cross-section of his half-crushed head was a stake with an occult design like the one that had been buried into Kirie-san's forehead. And in this situation, it was hard to imagine this stake was the weapon used. He'd been killed with a powerful gun like the 6 in the dining hall, and after death, stabbed with a stake like Kirie-san. I wonder if the golden threads Kirie spoke of attacked Uncle Kraus too. Does there exist some kind of tool like an endoscope that's thin but can be moved around at will? That can also attack people? No way, I've never heard of anything like that. Even so, if this fact had been revealed to one of the relatives, maybe they'd say I wouldn't put it past grandfather to make it. Since I can't deny the existence of Golden Thread X that can be moved at will and attack people, I can either accept this mysterious weapon exists or else I'll have to accept this was a murder committed with magic. Find the next corpse, I go through the back door and search around outside a bit. Behind the mansion, in the wild-grown bushes that were almost swallowed up by the forest, there was something like an old well. Right next to it were Dr. Nanjo and Shannon Chan's corpses. Rip Shannon and Nanjo. Both corpses had their heads smashed, and although they weren't stuck in, there were stakes lying next to each damaged head. Each corpse was atrocious, but having to look directly at Shannon Chan's lovely face, which had been half blown away, was very painful. Then there was the well. I'd heard inside was a secret underground passage to the mysterious mansion Kuadorian. By this time, I'd begun to think Beatrice and her accomplices might have used this underground passage and left for Kuadorian. Even though there was apparently at least 10 of them, I hadn't seen a trace of anyone. It seemed likely they'd already escaped to a different location. There's the typhoon. They can't go out to sea. It's the same for the forest. There's no way they could traverse such a deep, uncultivated forest on foot. In that case, they had one place to go, the mysterious hidden mansion, Kuadorian. Or the secret underground passage at the bottom of the well. By this time, I'd entirely lost my fear of being killed if I happened to come across the enemy. Don't fuck with me. This time I'll storm into your mansion. Wait, what the hell? The old well had a firm cover on it. The cover was an iron grill. The gaps between the bars were perhaps 20 centimeters across. That's going to be really hard to get through. How did Nanjo get through? You could peer inside, but it wasn't something a human could pass through. If I hadn't known better, I wouldn't have thought it anything more than a simple cover to prevent falls. But from what Kirie told me, I knew its purpose was to prevent intruders from entering the secret underground passage in its depths. But the cover was extremely firm and rigid. No matter how much I pushed or pulled, I couldn't even get close to opening it. I couldn't find an obvious lock. It might be sealed by some mechanism, but no matter how much I investigated, I couldn't find anything to release it. The biggest piece of information Kirie tried to give me, gambling her final moments, was the underground passage in this well. Don't think I'll be stopped by something like this cover. Check around the area. It might not actually be directly into the well. You might just come out near the well. I'll smash it to bits. I'll search for a tool. I had an idea. After all, I'd seen the various tools in the gardening shed when we'd locked Goda and Kumasawa in there. But the shutter to the gardening shed was locked, and on top of that, the key was with Goda-san, who was dead on the inside. In other words, the gardening shed was a closed room, and there's no way to open it from the outside. In that case, I gotta break the shutter. There's gotta be a tool for that somewhere. Feels like I'm going in circles here. Then, while searching for that, I learned the source of the stench that permeated the mansion the whole time. It was the underground boiler room. The boiler room was dimly lit, humid, and smelled horrible. On top of that, it was incredibly creepy. But there were several large tools in there, and I managed to find a fire hatchet and some massive wire cutters. And grandfather's corpse. Strictly speaking, I should probably say I found a burnt corpse of a person who was probably grandfather. Someone's corpse was stuffed into the blazing fires of the boiler. However, by coincidence, I was able to notice the number of toes on the corpse, and both feet had 6. That's right, I think I heard it from Dad sometime long ago, something about grandfather having polydactyly with extra toes. According to the old Ushirimiya family tradition, it seems those with extra fingers or toes have some kind of good fortune and are treated as a good omen. Because of that, grandfather was selected to be the successor or something. I wonder if I can be certain this is Grandfather's body just from the number of toes. After all, Grandfather's supposed to be the leader of the group of culprits. I didn't have a clue why he'd be stuffed into a boiler in a place like this and die. A mysterious corpse burning and spitting out a terrible stench amid flames. If it really was Grandfather, did that mean the leader of the group of culprits wasn't Grandfather but that Beatrice after all? Well, perhaps. Grandfather was used because he was convenient and was then thrown away? Unfortunately, it didn't look like I'd be given a chance to hear Grandfather's side of the story. Now that I had obtained a tool, I thought about rushing to take on the cover to the well, but I decided to break the shutter to the gardening shed first. Gotta make yourself look more suspicious for when the cops come, right? I had plenty of time to kill anyway. I figured... I could check on the conditions of Goda-san's and Kumasawa-san's corpses. I hit the shutter with the hatchet, breaking into it. Now you no longer even have a single sealed room you haven't been in, or broken into, or broken the seal on, so the cops will obviously, like, indict you. But I mean, you can just say it was some crazy serial killer that killed everyone, I guess. Good luck with, well... You know what? You know what? Ava got away with it, you'll get away with it. Okay. You'll get away with it. Ava got away with it. I hit the shutter with the hatchet, breaking into it, stuck the wire cutter into the crack, and scissored it around, opening up a hole. There I faced Goda and Kumasawa-san's corpses once more. As a result, I learned a new fact. First, they hadn't died by being hung by the neck. Both their feet were solidly on the floor. And on both their foreheads were signs they'd been shot with a gun. The loop seemed longer than a normal noose. On top of that, the length was different on each to match the height of each person. In other words, the lengths had been adjusted so both Goda and San, who was tall, and Kumasawa, who was short, had their feet solidly but barely on the ground. While the ropes carried both their weights as their heads lolled, both of them had some slack below the knees. That meant if they'd stood up with these loops around their necks, there'd be some extra length. In other words, these loops wouldn't have been that great for hanging people. The direct cause of death was probably a shot to the head. It was gruesome. Their insides were still dripping out from those gaping holes, staining their faces a deep red, and it was probably best to assume they were then hung, pulled up, and left exposed like that. If they'd been shot with a gun, they probably would have been lying down on the floor. If that had been the case, you wouldn't have been able to tell they were dead even if you peeked through the window. The mountain of stuff would have gotten in the way, so if they'd been lying down, they would have been hidden. To make the deaths of these two known to the rest of us who couldn't go inside, they would have had to hang them like this, making it visible from the outside. Was this done to get back at us for thinking those two would be safe if we left the key with them? I wonder where the shutter key we gave Goda, which should have ensured their safety, is now. The key was in the pocket of his trousers. This gardening shed key had been kindly left there, and even the plate was attached. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room after all, or so you think. It gave rise to another question. Because this can't be explained by a hanging, if they didn't commit suicide, then those nooses were set up by the culprit. It might have been possible to shoot them through the window, but it's unthinkable that someone could have tied two loops to the beam from the outside. Furthermore, there's no way they could have lifted up the heavy corpses. In other words, to do all this, they would have had to go inside. I mean, by some magical stretch. Let's say you point the gun at them, tell them to put the noose around their neck and tie it there, and then shoot them. It's possible, I think. Like, you point a gun at them, you tell them, do this or we'll kill the rest of them. They do it, you shoot them, and then it's game over for them. Like, maybe that's what happened. But apparently they're solidly on their feet, so it's a little bit harder to tell what happened. It's like, maybe you could assume if they were hanging at weird angles or facing away from the door, but had bullet holes in their, or away from the window but had bullet holes in their head, you could say, like, okay, they got shot, but then they spun, and, like, a bit of tension on the rope means that it turns out like that was equilibrium, but apparently their feet are solidly on the ground, so it's a little bit weird. The key was in Goda-san's pocket, and the shutter had been locked. In other words, the gardening shed was a closed room. As far as you know. There could be a second key. Beatrice isn't here to give us red text. There might be a second key we don't know about. Goda said there was one key to this shutter. Is it possible there was a copy? And the culprit was in possession of it? If we're allowed to theorize, it was actually a duplicate of the gardening store's key. And that Goto-san just didn't know about it. This isn't even close to a closed room. But why is it that despite the fact that almost all the other corpses were shot to death and left alone, these two were intentionally hoisted up? I can't help but feel something odd about that. After this, if we assume the mystery corpse in the boiler room is grandfather's, the deaths of 16 people have been confirmed. There were 18 people on this island. I'm here and there are 16 corpses. Cannons is missing, correct? Now, Cannons, to our knowledge, is at the bottom of the well. Cannon-kun's corpse is the only one I haven't been able to confirm. The descriptions for the bodies were very generalistic, so I don't know if I need to read them for the rest of the people. Let's look around here. According to Kirie-san, he had been killed while climbing out of the well and fell down into it. With the well closed up like this, it's impossible to check. I tried shining a flashlight through the bars down into the darkness, but it seemed the jet black darkness had no intention of showing me its depth with a light of that level. What about that weird angled thing beside the well? That looks like a well cover. It looked like I'd have to break the bars after all. Using the hatchets and things I dragged from the boiler room and gardening shed, I tried breaking the cover. The metal bars were extraordinarily sturdy. Breaking them was not easy. I hit them with the hatchet over and over until my hands started feeling weird and eventually gave up on breaking them. It's impossible. If they were at least wood, I might have been able to break them. But this metal... There's no way you slice through metal bars like that with human strength. I can't even begin to understand the story about how Cannon-kun cut through the bars. I heard a red light like a laser beam grew out of his arm, and that he sliced through the bars like he was cutting through butter. Cutting through metal bars like butter. I mean, there are tools that could do that. A really, really nice blowtorch might be able to get you through them. Maybe some thermite? The red laser? Could have been a laser cutter. That'd be pretty hard to lug around, though. That mean his secret had a burner on him or something? Maybe. And use that to burn through the bars? Yeah, maybe. I wonder if you could cut that with like a welding torch. What kind of laser could cut through metal bars like butter? It almost sounds like the laser beam you find in those robot anime I loved as a kid. Does something like that actually exist? Yeah, things like that kind of exist, but they have really limited range and might require you to carry some equipment around. How did Cannon-kun get the laser beam? No matter how much I want to ask, he's already been killed. Even his corpse is now in the depths of the well beyond this cover. If Cannon could slice through the metal bars, I'm sure he could handle this metal cover in a single swing. It feels like the closed room Goto-san was locked in while holding the key. Only one person can open the door, but they're locked inside. If only I had the power of Cannon-kun's, I'd be able to do something about this cover myself. Just who is Cannon-kun? He couldn't really be a non-human capable of using a strange power, right? Kirie told me to believe in witches, and I even met an insane woman calling herself one. Could Cannon-kun possibly be a human on the witch's side? Or else the culprit? The heck? Am I going to start treating him like the culprit because I can't find his corpse? Oh, treating him like the culprit because there's no corpse? And who was the one babbling about the suspicious being innocent? Very well. I couldn't bear having you push all the crimes on Canon and building a human culprit theory that way. I'll guarantee it with the red. Canon is dead. That's cool. We don't know what Canon's real name is. I'm keeping my theory from earlier. Cannon being dead doesn't mean anything because he might have just abandoned the name Cannon. I would need to know his real name. Or her to say something like, the person you believe is named Cannon is dead. That would be a bit better.
キリエたち5人の中で一番最初に死亡した。
Among the 5 people in Kyrie's group, he was first to die. Kyrie's group, we believed, was composed of Kyrie, Kraus, Shannon, Cannon, and Nonjo. No matter how Battler was not able to find the corpse. No matter how he's killed with magic without a corpse, he's a definite suspect. That's definitely anti-fantasy. Beatrice says, therefore I guarantee his death with the red truth. Now that's definitely anti-mystery. Alright. A demon stake had fallen near her body. It was presumed she was killed with a gun. Witnesses realized the stake wasn't what killed her. Okay. Shot in the head. Hung by the neck after being shot in the head. Same deal with Goda. Kraus is dead. Kinzo's burned. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. No evidence of a struggle. He was probably burned after his murder. Battler's the lone survivor. Okay.
つまりは9人目の犠牲者というわけだ。
He was the 9th victim. Okay.
死体がない以上カノン君が死亡しているとは
Since there's no corpse, I can't say for sure.
断言できない
McCannon's dead.
わらわが赤でささやいたところで駒であるそなたには届かぬか。
So my whispering in red does not reach the Picio.
そなた
But it did reach you, right? Yeah, I got it, Beatrice. At a glance, this was a mass murderer due to something strange that could only be thought of as magic. Golden threads that attacked through keyholes. No, we have testimony something gold flew through the dining hole when the first 6 died. The 2 might have been the same weapon. Then there was the closed room murder of the garden shed. The laser beam that could cut metal bars. That wasn't all. There was much, much more, like the group of goat monsters, the story of a witch who could create pitfalls by snapping her fingers, the rabbit-like demons who'd fired golden threads. I think there was more, but each part was all screwed up. I couldn't possibly accept it and was forced to suspect it was some kind of trick or mistake. But why in the world had everyone spoken with one voice saying the same thing without contradictions in their testimony? It's not only the magic. There's Maria's mysterious death. Why Jessica knew George Anarchy had been killed. The mysterious burnt corpse I couldn't confirm really belonged to that damn geezer. And more and more. All stuff I don't get. I tilted the wine bottle up and gulped. I don't have a clue what's going on. After dinner last night, the kids were chased out and told to go back to the guest house. Then there was a massacre in the dining hall. Kyrie and the rest were dropped through pitfalls and captured. Jessica and George Anarchy were called out to take a test or whatever and killed. Depending on how the cops see this might actually be very different. It could be. It could be a bunch of people are gathered in the hall. 6 people are shot down. Kraus manages to make it to the back door, dies. A couple more people flee out the back door and are gunned down. Kyrie hit on the 2nd floor, called someone. She was shot. Jessica called someone, was also shot. Tried to make a call, was also shot. George was outside, got shot. Seemingly unawares. Like, that could be how the cops decide to say things are done. Yeah. So Jessica and George were called to take tests or whatever and killed. Even though Kirie's group was able to escape the dungeon somehow, all of them got killed in the end. And at the very, very end, even Mario was killed, leaving me alone. In short, I did nothing but stay locked up in the guest house. During that time, a huge incident occurred and ended. What can I call it except incomprehensible? I don't have a clue anymore.
もう俺はただの食欲魔人なんだぜ。
And now I'm nothing but a drunk.
俺だけ生き残らせるつもりかよ。
You plan on leaving only me
とっ
alive?
とと姿を現して殺しに来いってんだ。
Show yourself already and come to kill me
もう
already.
面倒だからこっちからは探さねえぞ。
It's too much of a pain. I won't bother
そ
searching
っ
for you.
ちから正体を見せやがるってんだ。
Show me your true form
俺は
yourself.
逃げも隠れもしねえぞ。矢でも鉄砲でも持ってきやがれ。
I won't run or hide. Come out with arrows, bullets, whatever. I haven't gotten any sleep since yesterday, so I'm incredibly sleepy. You want to kill me? Go ahead. I decided to return to the guest house and boldly rest in a bed. When I exited the kitchen and passed through the lobby, the portrait of the witch came into view. The big clock did too. It was almost exactly midnight. Then the sound of the bell rang out, proclaiming midnight had arrived. Yeah, Battler getting blasted, more like wasted. As I listened, I looked up at Beatrice's portrait. Exactly 24 hours ago I met you. What were you trying to say? Where did you go? Who in the world are you, Golden Witch Beatrice? I haven't solved a single one of the riddles surrounding you. Show yourself and fight me. Then the witch showed herself. Like a guest of honor finally appearing, she showed herself on the landing at the top of the big staircase. Remember, Battler did not find the gold, so he gonna die.
ようやく姿を現しやがったな。
So you finally show yourself.
丸一日退屈させられてたところだぜ。
I've been kept bored for a whole day.
そうだ。
Correct.
丸一日を与えた。
I gave you a whole
人
day.
間側の権利行使は十分か。
Was that enough for you to fully exercise the rights of the human side?
あ
Yeah,
あ、退屈だったんでな。
I was bored after all.
存分にやらせてもらったぜ。
Did a heck of a lot of it.
エンジェは良い駒であったな。
NJ was a good piece.
エンジェの名をお前が口にするんじゃねえ。
Don't you speak NJ's name.
あれは奇跡によって現れ、自らを生贄にして、そなたに絶対の勝利の執念を与えた。
She appeared through a miracle, sacrificed herself, and gave you the tenacity required for certain victory. So do we think Battler is actually NJ's full sister and not her half sister? I mean, they have the same color hair, and it's quite unusual. It would be somewhat unusual for them to have it in the first place, right? If they were only half siblings, and like her mother has white hair, naturally white hair, in her 30s. We don't know what color it is, but presumably an unusual color since they all have white hair. Like it seems likely that they would look at least different, but they have like very similar eye colors and very similar hair colors, which makes me think they're like directly related. Or Rudolph somehow has red-haired genes. Like, what does Kyrie's hair look like when it's not white? See, what does... Oh, yeah, we can't see Kyrie's face in color anymore. Never mind. I was gonna say, what's her eye color? Oh, well, they have the same eye color and hair color, which makes me think they're actually, like... It made me think the whole time that they were actually full siblings and something happened, but... And something happened that meant they weren't aware of it. But, oh well. Maybe we'll find out later. So you have the tenacity for a certain victory now, Battler, right? Right?
エン
Please?
ジェの名を口にするな。
Don't you speak NJ's name?
あの無残な死は、そなたにとって必要なものだっ
A brutal death was something you
た。あの
needed.
死を見なければ、そなたは本気にならない。
If you hadn't seen that death, you wouldn't have grown
エン
serious.
ジェの幸薄き未来を自覚しなければ、そなたに勝利の執念は生まれない。
Without the wake-up call of NJ's ill-fated future, your tenacity for victory would not have been born.
エンジェの名を口にするなと言っている。
I told you not to speak NJ's name. Well, battler.
つまりは必要な生贄だったというわけ
In short, she was a necessary
そう
sacrifice.
でなくてはそなたにわらわを殺すほどの怒りは生まれない
Otherwise, an anger great enough to kill me would not have been born in
わ
you.
らわとそなたの拮抗が崩せない
The rivalry between us cannot be destroyed.
ベルンカステル共鳴これは駒ではないわ
Damn
切
you,
り札
Bird
と呼ぶ
Castel.
がふさわしい
It's more fitting to call it a trump card than a piece.
駒はどれほど活躍しようとも盤上を離れることはない
No matter how much a piece acts, it doesn't stray from the
しか
board.
し切り札はどんな力を発揮しようとも切れば確実に捨てられる
But no matter how much power a trump card wields, it's always thrown away after it's used. No, not necessarily. It depends on what you want to call your trump card.
エンジェはそなたにとって実に良き切り札だったのだ
NJ was certainly a good trump card for you.
エンゼの名を口にするんじゃな
Don't you speak NJ's name? Alright, he's still mad. At Battler's angry roar, Beato finally stopped talking.
俺はなこんなところで遊んでる暇はもう一
You
切
know, I
ね
don't have
えんだ
time to play around in a place like this anymore. Oh, you got a solution for this, Battler?
引き分けすらもエンチを待たせてる
Even a tie keeps NJ waiting.
俺はなお前を打ち破り
So I'll break through you,
家族を連れて
take my family,
家に帰るんだよ
and go back home.
てめえと魔女ごっこで遊んでる暇は1秒たりともありはしない
Bold proclamations, Battler, bold proclamations. He'll take his family, go back home, and not waste a second playing which games with you?
ならばどうすればよいか
In that case, what should you
分か
do?
っているの
You know, don't you?
ああお前をぶっ倒す
I'll beat you
魔女も
down.
魔法も幻想も妄想も全て俺がぶっ飛ばす
I'll blast away all witches, magic, illusions, and
さ
delusions.
あおっ始めようぜ
Alright, let's get started.
もう二度とごまかさせない
I won't let you trick me again. I'm gonna doubt that,
ゲ
but
ーム
okay.
再開だぜ
Resume the game, alright?
お前という嘘っぱちを追う魔女のベールを俺が引き裂いてやる
Concealing that outright lie you are?
素直に一言
You talk too
わ
much.
らわを殺してやると言えばよい
All you have to do is honestly say I'll kill you. It would be nice, but honestly, Beatrice does the same thing and rants telling him to come at her.
ああ
Yeah.
その言葉をお望みなら言ってやるさ
If those are the words you want,
俺
I'll
が
say
聞い
them.
てやるお前の望みで最初で最後のものだ
It's the first and last wish of yours I'll lend an ear to.
感謝する
Thank you.
お前を
I'll kill you.
ならばよし
Very well.
始めようぞバトラ
Let's begin,
ー
battler.
さあ魔女狩りの時間だ
The time for the witch hunt has
わら
come.
わを追ってみろ追い詰めてみろ殺してみろわらわ
Try
は
and
そな
chase
た
me.
に期待している
Try to corner me and kill me. I expect a lot from you.
妹の最後がそなたに何を与えたのかそれをわらわに見せてみよ
Show me what your little sister gave you in her last moments.
上等だ
Bring it on. All right. And then we have to sit there and wait for Beatrice to refute our points. Battler's cry burned the world with a white light. If you opened your eyes amidst the darkness, the two of them could be seen in a rose garden.
先手はどちらから
Who shall make the first move?
俺だ
Me.
潔し
How bold. In the rose garden, three beautiful rose petals, or three, where'd I get three from? Beautiful rose petals danced. The color of those rose petals was red. But the fact they faced each other in this beautiful rose garden prove or make the claim to a red single truth. That must be why roses are red. In the language of flowers, roses represent passion, not truth. Flower for truth is forget-me-not. And that flower is blue.
俺の青き真実で全てをうがつ
I'll pour through everything with my blue truth.
全ての 一番最初
From
か
the very beginning of everything.
一番最初のゲームから
I'll
始めるぜ
start from the first game.
よかろう。
Alright, very well.
そなたのお手並みを拝見しよ
Let's
う。
see what you got. Starting from the beginning,
Cool.
that's aggressive. Come,
行くぜ
here I go.
すでに宣言済みだがもう
I
一度言う
proclaimed it, but I'll say it again.
こいつは前回のゲームの南條先生の殺人だけじゃないぜ
This isn't just for the murder of Dr. Nanjo in the last
一
game.
番最初からのあらゆるゲームのあらゆる場面を切り裂ける
This'll tear apart every scene from every game since the beginning. Okay.
後宮金蔵はすでに死亡している
Ushiromiya Kinzo is already
よ
dead.
って島の本当の人数は17人
The true number of people on this island is 17.
そこに未知の人物 X が加わることで18人となっている
Like adding an unknown person X, that makes 18
この
people.
人物 X の存在の過程によって17人全員にアリバイがあっても犯行は可能になる
By supposing the existence of person X, this crime is possible even if all 17 people have
これに
alibis.
より人間の数18人を満たしつつにもかかわらず一見
Like this.
18人全員にアリバイがあっても犯人 X の存在と犯行は可能になる
By this, even though the number of people reaches 18, it's possible for culprit X to exist and carry out crimes even if all 18 people seem to have alibis. You can break through all the murders in episode 1 by supposing an unknown person X. Furthermore, it's possible to explain the mystery of Kinzo's evaporation from the closed room sealed by the receipt by making the bold assumption Kinzo wasn't there in the first place. Unless Beato counters with red truth, the illusion of the witch from episode 1 has been completely smashed. This blue truth is valid. The wedge of blue truth battler through, stabbed right through the top of Beato's left foot. Was the red blood pouring from there a protest made by her red truth? Beato shut an eye tight, enduring the unbearable pain of the blue truth that denied her.
悪くない。だが、まだまだわらわは否定されてはおらぬ。
But I mustn't be denied yet. I
殺さ
mustn't
れ
be
ては
killed
こ
yet.
の程度では足りぬ。
It's not enough.
続くゲームでは、それだけで説明できる謎があるぞ。
In the subsequent games, there were mysteries that couldn't be explained by
どう
that
なんだ？
alone, right? Which mysteries?
第2のゲームの終盤で、
In the final stages of the second game,
ジョージがゴーダとシャノンを引き連れ、夏日の部屋に立てこもり、殺された。
George took Goda and Shannon with him, barricaded them in Natsuhi's room, and was killed.
夏日の部屋を解錠した鍵は室内に閉じ込められ、残るすべての解錠可能な鍵はローザの手にあった。
The key that unlocked Natsuhi's room was locked up inside the room, and all the remaining keys that could unlock the door were in Rosa's hand.
犯人 X が存在しようとも、密室構築は不可能なはず。
Even if a culprit X existed, it should have been impossible to construct that closed room. The blue wedge that pierced Beato shook. She was resisting, fighting to pull it out.
いや俺の青き真実は揺るがない
It doesn't shake my blue
犯
truth.
人 X がマスターキーを入手していればあれは密室でも何でもないんだ
If culprit X were to obtain a master key, that's not even close to a closed room.
いや、入手は不可能だぜ。
It was impossible for the culprit to obtain one. Beatrice, you're not speaking with red truth.
マスターキーすべては
Thank you.
ローザが管理した。
All the master keys were under Rosa's control.
だがローザおばさんが共犯であったなら何の意味もない
If Rosa's the culprit,
ローザおばさんは犯人 X に何らかの方法で鍵を渡し
Aunt
密室
Rosa
殺人
handed
を幇助した
oh, sorry. Aunt Rosa handed a key over to culprit X by some method assisting in the closed room murder.
そしてその後同様の方法で鍵を回収したん
And
だ
after that, she retrieved the key by a similar method.
甘いぜベアト
Too naive,
こ
Beato.
んなのは当時の俺もすでに推理し
I
てい
don't
る
guess that much at the time. Yeah, there were some key gimmicks featuring Ava or someone else already present, so... And we had Ava be present in the chapels, making Ava the likely killer, if we're going to assign a killer to Chapter 2. Didn't she?
そうであったな。
Yeah, Beato is being conservative with the red right now. Yeah. Or, sorry, Ava. Rosa's the guilty party of the second one, right? Ava's just guilty of the third one. I shouldn't accuse her of being the killer in all of them, although it's possible, but unlikely. She died pretty early on in the second one. Pretty early on, like literally the first death. The wedge that had been gradually losing its sparkle, and it seemed as though it was about to be pulled out, regained its strong blue thanks to Battler's additional blue truth and dug into Beato again, eating into her foot. She let out a cry of anguish at the pain. This is nothing. Not yet. Not yet. Alright, red truth it.
さらに続けて第
She
3の
could be
ゲームだ
used as an accomplice for the one murder, then discarded. Yeah, she could have, but like, we don't have any evidence for that. Basically, they were all in a room, including Rosa, and then everyone but Rosa was dead. That's basically all we know, is that they were talking in the room, and then suddenly everyone but Rosa's dead. And Rosa was, like, obviously napping.
6連結の連鎖密室ローザおばさんとマリアの殺人親父たちのホールでの死亡
Six linked
クラウスお
rooms,
じさん
closed
と
rooms.
夏日おばさんの殺人
The murders of Rosa and Maria, Dan, the rest deaths in the hall, the murders of Kraus and
エ
Nazi.
ヴァおばさんを犯人に仮定することで説明可能だ
All of it can be explained if we say Aunt Ava was the culprit.
これは当時すでに論破済み
This argument was already won back
そ
then.
れに対しお前がエヴァを通して出題してきた最後の
Even the
難題
final riddle you proposed through Ava.
南條先生殺しも18人目の未知の人物 X で説明可能
The murder of Dr. Nanjo can be explained with an unknown 18th person X.
これで第3のゲームまで全て打ち破ったぞ
Breaks through the whole third game. Can you counter it?
無論
Alright, let's see
こ
it.
の
Let's
程
see
度
it.
で答えはせ
Much
ぬ
is nothing to worry about.
ならばゲストハウスからのジョージの失踪はどう説明するというの
Okay.
か
How do you explain George's disappearance from the guest house?
赤き真実を追加しよ
I'll add to the red truth.
うジョージはゲストハウスの階段を降りてはおらぬ
George did not go down the stairs to the guest house. Of the guest house.
窓から飛び去ったのだ
He flew out the window. He climbed out the window. In the final stage of the third game, George suddenly vanished from the second floor of the guest house. Ava, who'd been on the first floor, claimed no one came downstairs, but because of the blue truth, George could have snuck down to the first floor and escaped while Ava was busy carrying Kraus and Natsuki's corpses outside. But by adding an additional red truth, Beato denied that possibility. To go outside without going down the staircase to the first floor, he would have had to leave by window. All the windows were locked from the inside.
だからなんだ
So,
お前の言葉通りだぞ
like you said,
窓から飛び去ったんだろ
he flew out the window, right?
下へ飛び降りても芝生じゃわからないしあの
There's a
大
lawn.
雨
He couldn't tell if he jumped down. It was raining hard.
多少の痕跡なんて消えちまう
Any light traces would have disappeared.
赤き真実を繰り返す
I'll use the red truth again.
外部へ通ずる窓も扉もすべて内側より施錠されていたぞ
All windows and doors leading to the outside were locked from the inside. Someone worked with him as his accomplice.
し
Next.
かもそれらの施錠はすべて外側からは不可能
Furthermore, it's impossible to lock any of those from the outside. I don't know. Ava fucking locked them? We don't know Ava's location at any point during half these murders. She could have locked them. He could have also had someone who was up there. Was there anyone up there with him? Work with him when he says he's going to go see Shannon's corpse before the cops take it away? That would be my two arguments. Oh, those are my first two at least.
ジョージには施錠する術はない
George had no technique by which to lock them.
青き真実を繰り返す
I'll use more blue.
当時の俺も言っているぜ
I said it myself at the time.
ならばジョージの兄貴が窓より脱出後誰かがそれを施錠すればいい
In that case, everything works out as long as someone locks the window after George Anarchy escapes through.
何も難しいことはない
Nothing difficult about it. Okay, Bea. So,
この程度ではあがけぬく
can I not escape
あがけぬく
after something like this? Batho couldn't remove the blue wedge that was buried into her foot. The fake witch was burned more and more by that forceful blue.
第3のゲームまでの全てにおいて青き真実は未だ揺るがない。
There's nothing that shakes my blue truth in any of the first 3 games.
ならお前が魔女であることを証明する唯一のゲームは
In that case,
今回の第4
the
の
only
ゲー
game
ムだけって
that
こと
proves
に
you're
な
a
る。
witch is this game, the 4th game.
わらわが赤き真実にて反撃していない以上、そういうことになる。
I haven't countered you with the red, that is so.
この度のゲームでのみ魔女を証明せねばなるまいな。
I'll have to prove witches using only this game.
よかろう。
Very well. Very well.
存分に来るがよ。
Give me everything you got.
食堂の
Two
6人
Kyo
殺
levels
しに
of
ついて
taking damage and
不審な
logic
点は
too.
ない。
That's right, magic stakes. Impaling her feet. There's nothing strange about the murder of the 6 people in the dining hall.
18人目の X が銃を乱射してみんなを殺した。
18th person X went wild with a gun and killed everyone.
落とし穴については実際に落とし穴が本当に隠されていた可能性もあるし、
As for pitfalls, there's a chance pitfalls were truly hidden there.
キリエさんの仮説である瞬時に混沌させる毒矢の発射装置 X の過程でも
It's
説明可
possible to
能。
explain it using Kyrie-san's theory supposing that poison darts, shooting devices which can knock a person out instantly exist.
ジョージの兄貴ジェシカ、そして地下牢から脱出したメンバーの殺害も食堂と同じで銃によるもの。
The murders of George, Anarchy, and Jessica and those who escaped from the dungeon can also be explained with guns, just like the dining hall.
不審な点はない。
Nothing strange about it.
だが分かってるぜ。
I'm
反撃があるんだろ。
I'm sure you've got a counterattack, right?
来いよ。
Bring it.
そなたの最大の刃である18人目の X は金蔵がすでに死んでいるとの仮説に立脚している。
Your greatest sword, this 18th person X, is based on the theory that Kinzo was already dead.
そう来ることはわらわも分かってい
I knew you would make this claim.
た。だから金蔵を書斎より出した。
So I took Kinzo out of his study. Did you now? Did you now?
その金蔵を親族会議の全員が迎えたぞ。
Note that there's been no red text so far, so she hasn't said anything of value. All members of the family conference welcomed that Kinzo,
親
right?
族会議に居合わせた全員が金蔵の存在を認めた。
All those who met at the family conference acknowledged the presence of Kinzo.
そうだな。
That's right.
だがじい様はずっと視線をさまよって寝込んでいた重病人ってことになってるぜ。
Grandfather was seriously ill, bedridden on the verge of life and
や
death.
つれてて別人に見えちまってもみんな気にしないかもな。
If he's so worn out he looked like a different person, maybe no one would have cared, right?
俺はこう返す。
I'll counter with this.
そのじい様は別人の替え玉だ。
Grandfather was a different person, a body double.
親族たちがじい様と見間違えた別人だ。
A different person the relatives mistook for grandfather.
ならばわらわはこう
I'll
返
counter with this.
す。すべての人物は後宮金蔵を見間違わない。
No person would mistake Ushiromiya Kinzo
い
by
かなる
sight.
変装であったとしても後宮金蔵を見間違わない。
No matter what disguise might be used, they would not mistake Ushiromiya Kinzo by sight.
ならばこう返す。
Then I'll use
お
this.
前は第一のゲーム時では5本以上存在することになっていたマスターキーの本数を
In the
第
second
二
game
の
when
ゲー
you
ム時に
announced...
赤き真実で5本と宣言することで
Okay. In the second game when you announced with Red Truth, there were 5 master keys, even though there could have been more than 5 in the first
以後の
game.
ゲームの設定変更を行っている。
You changed the premises of later games.
同じことで第4のゲームにおいて金蔵の生死の設定が変更されている可能性がある。
It's possible Kinzo's life or death status was changed for the 4th game alone.
よって第4のゲームの金蔵の存在をもってそれ以前のゲームでの金蔵の存在を証明することにはならない。
A good play, I guess, Battler. He's trying to make sure that his theory holds for prior games. Therefore, Kinzo's presence in the 4th game doesn't serve as proof he was present in the previous
よっ
games.
て食堂での6人殺しはじい様が自ら執行したと仮定しても何の矛盾も生じない。
Therefore, even if we suppose the 6 murders in the dining hall were carried out by grandfather, it contradicts nothing.
ならばこう
Let
返
me
そう
counter
ぞ
this way.
4つのゲーム開始時の金蔵の静止設定は全て同一である
Kinzo's life or death status is the same at the start of all 4
第
games.
4のゲームのみ設定が異なることはない
The setup was not different for the 4th game alone. Okay.
副賞要求
Repeat.
各ゲームの開始時に金蔵は生存している
Kinzo was alive at the start of every game.
副賞拒否
I refuse to repeat it.
答えぬよバトラ
I won't answer, Battler.
わらわはそなたに望まれて赤き真実を
I
答え
won't
は
give
せ
you the
ぬ
red truth you so desire.
くそじじいね
Standing in my way, old man.
俺の前に立ちふさがりやがる我が最愛の魔女ベアトリーチェを守るために体を張ってやがるってのか
That's right, he's putting himself on the line to protect Beatrice, his most beloved witch. Swaying, that damn geezer came into view. Is he trying to be some kind of knight blocking the path between me and Beato?
バトラーよお前にこのわしが超えられるかな
Are you capable of surpassing me?
至らせぬ至らせはせぬよ黄金の魔女の高みにはな
Kinzo, you think Kinzo's flexible enough to be a queen? Maybe. Only you reach, not to the golden witch's height, you see?
お前の浅はかな推理など私一人を超えることもできぬわ
Your thoughtless reasoning cannot surpass me, even alone. I don't know if he's a queen, because kings are like not particularly mobile. And I feel like Beatrice has been very flexible in the scenario, whereas Kinzo has only had like one role. The lack of Kinzo is Battler's queen.
死ね
Die. Wait, he got his own cinematic shot for that? He becomes a dragon? Kinzo's jet black cape spread as though it would swallow the world? He becomes a black dragon? I mean, he's a big black dragon, but I mean, I've seen Deathwing and Calgon black, so he's terrifying in this setting, but there are bigger dragons. It's spread as though it would swallow the world. It's a cool looking dragon though. I really like their art style, where he's like fading into existence via gold. At the edges you can see he's not fully materialized, like the wings haven't completely finished forming. It became the snout of the vast black dragon that came at me, trying to swallow me in one gulp. Faced with that black dragon's roar, I calmed my breathing and closed my eyes
お前
slightly.
なぞ一息に飲み込んでくれるわ
I'll swallow you in a single
消
gulp.
え去れ未熟者め
Disappear, inexperienced fool. Was it the Kukla? That's also supposed to be a colossal dragon? He claims he's gonna swallow this world, but what world is he swallowing? A fictitious world? I mean, a dragon that can swallow you in a single gulp is not the biggest dragon. There are multiple dragons the size of mountain ranges. I think the Kukla also counts as one. And so does... I actually don't know if that's dragon, never mind. Alright, disappear, inexperienced fool, good luck.
黙りな死に損ないの亡霊め
Quiet, you damn undying ghost.
ほうわしを亡霊呼ばわりしてみせるか
So you call me a
あ
ghost?
くまでもわしはすでに死んでおるとする仮説を貫くか
You intend to see it through to the end that this theory I'm already
そ
dead?
れがお前の命取りよ
It'll prove
第
fatal.
4のゲームの第1の番にて闇に飲み込まれて消え去るがよい
Be swallowed by the first twilight of the 4th game and disappear. Beatrice did not say he was alive. They said he acknowledged. She said everyone acknowledged he was him, right? He could have been dead. They could have dragged out his corpse. I'm bad at this copium game, but I'm doing my best here. Kinzo's gonna turn into the Dean Stay Night CGI dragon. Why did someone have to remind me of that? Oh, that scene. Alright. That silly, silly scene. Black Dragon's vast mouth, its snout, its fangs swallowed Battler whole, and in that instant Battler opened his eyes.
ありがとうよ、ベアトリーチェ。
Thanks, Beato.
お前の第3のゲームが俺の反撃の足がかりとなる。
Your third game has become a foothold for my counterattack.
何？
What?
あばよ、クソジジイ。
See ya, you damn
こ
geezer.
いつでお別れだぜ。
This is
俺
goodbye.
は金蔵死亡説が第4のゲームでも主張できる根拠として以下の仮説を提唱する。
As a basis for claiming that Kinzo is dead even in the fourth game, I propose the following theory.
よかろう。存分に来るがよい。
Very well.
我が末裔よ。
Come at me with all you have, my descendant.
行くぜ、クソジジイ。
Here you go, you damn
金蔵
geezer.
の名は後宮家当主の称号として引き継がれているという仮説だ。
My theory is thus. The name Kinzo gets passed on as the title of the Ushiromiya family head.
後宮金蔵はすでに死んでいる。
Ushiromiya Kinzo was already
そ
dead,
してその名を誰かが継承した。
and he passed the name on to someone else.
全員が承認した。
Everyone acknowledged that?
それにより親族会議に居合わせた全員が金蔵の存在を認めた。
In this way, all those who met the family conference acknowledged the presence of Kinzo.
じい様の変装をする必要さえもないのさ。
There wasn't even any need for someone to disguise themselves as
一度
grandfather,
新しい金蔵を認めたのだから。
because everyone acknowledged a new Kinzo.
よって見間違えるわけもない。
They didn't actually mistake Kinzo by sight,
以上の仮説が否定されない限
so
り
he's using name
お前
substitution
が死
theory.
んでいる
Alright.
という事実は
I didn't propose that Kinzo was an inherited name, but Battler came to that one, which is an interesting conclusion on his own. I had other name substitution theories, so I kind of appreciate that he's using name substitution to try and work something out, even if it's a different line that I was going. As long as this theory is not denied, nothing can change the fact that you're dead.
これでとどめだぜ。
This is the final blow.
クソジジイ、お前に復讐要求だ。
Damn old man, I demand you repeat it.
全人物の中で異なる複数の名前を持つ人物は存在しない。
Among all the people there, not one had multiple different names. I mean, Cannon and Shannon do. I don't know if Battler knows that, though. He should, though.
できん。
He can't. Obviously not, because Cannon and Shannon were there. Damn, Kinzo. The guy who plays Kinzo really likes his his screams. He does. He
安
goes
らか
really
に
hard
眠
on
い
those.
な。
Rest in peace,
クソじじい。
Geezer.
感謝しろよ。お前やっと死ねたんだぜ。
Thank me. You were finally able to die.
こいつが引導だ。食らってくたばりな。
This is your requiem. Take it and drop dead.
後宮金蔵はすでに死亡している。
Shiromiya Kinzo was already dead.
そうさ。あんたは気の毒だよな。その死体が見つかる場合、いつも丸焼けだ。
That's right. You definitely deserve to be pitied, since whenever we find your corpse, it's already completely
それは
burned.
死後が経過している死体であることを悟られないための工作なのさ。
That was a device to hide the fact time had passed since your death.
そしてその名を誰かが受け継いだ。
And then you pass that name on to someone
以
else.
上の仮説で、てめえは死亡しているにもかかわらず、金蔵は
theory
親族会議に登場することができる。
Even though you were dead, Kinzo was able to appear at the family conference. I feel like he's still scrambling for an answer, but this kind of works, I guess.
どうだよ。 これだチェックメイトだ
How's this? This is checkmate. Oh, interesting. Another background for the dragon. This time, I mean, I would assume blue is exploding out of him if I didn't know otherwise. It looks like, I think what they're trying to depict is him being rapidly impaled by blue stakes all over. It looks pretty good. Several dozen blue stakes bored into Kinzo's ghost. Oh, there they are. Their terrible destructive power wouldn't let the ghost recover again. Failed 3. And he's gone.
Kinzo, 今日までありがとう。
Thank you for everything.
安らかに。
R.I.P. in peace.
そなたとの日々は忘
I
れる。
won't forget my time was spent with you. Kinzo is dead. Dispersing along with the shadow of the black dragon as golden flower petals scattered, Ushiromio Kinzo became a gold-colored cyclone and disappeared. Even after death, he fought for the sake of the woman he loved. There's no doubting your love and madness were the real thing.
バトラー。
恨むな
Don't
死
hate
者は
me.
眠らせろ
Let the dead
起
rest.
こすな
Don't wake them.
次こそ
You're next.
これでお前も最後だ
This is the end for you too. Beto couldn't pull out the blue wedge that pierced her foot. She's thinking. She realized she's on the verge of death.
お前には随分と付き合ったぜ
I've gone along with you a whole
お
bunch.
前の遊び相手としての義理は十分果たしたはず
I
だ
think I've more than fulfilled any responsibility I had to play
だ
with you.
がそろそろお片付けの
But it's
時間
about
だ
time
ぜ
to finish things up. Beto said she was gonna wait until the last possible moment to pull out the red truth, so she's being patient, right?
家で寂しがり屋の妹が待ってるんだ
I got a lonely sister waiting at home.
家族揃っておいとまさせてもらうぜ
Let me take my leave with my whole family. I mean, this seems like Beto, though, right? Battler goes on a rant. We've been explicitly told that she's gonna let him do this. Right before he claims his victory, she shreds it in front of him and laughs. She's done it several times. So I'm kind of just waiting for this to happen, right? Like, Beto's gonna wait until she's just about to die and then gonna laugh it off. Let me leave, take my leave with my whole family
ならば殺せ。
and kill me.
ならばわらわを殺してみせよ。
And that kid's try and kill me.
逃げも隠れもせぬ。今や避けることもかなわぬわ。
I won't run or hide, and by now I won't even be able to avoid it.
来い後ろ宮バトラ
Come on, Ushiromia Battler. Alright.
おう
You got it!
金蔵死亡説による18人目の X により残り全てを貫く
When the 18th person X from Kinzo is dead, from the Kinzo is dead theory, everything that remains is pierced through.
第4のゲームにおけるジョージの兄貴とジェシカの死も X が犯人で説明
George
で
and
きる
Jessica's deaths from the fourth game can be explained by culprit X.
地下牢から逃げて殺された5人も園芸倉庫の2人も最後のマリアも
The 5 who escaped from the dungeon were killed, the 2 in the gardening shed, Maria in the
全て
end.
18人目の X で説明できる
All can be explained with 18th person X.
何もおかしなことはない
There's nothing strange there at all.
以上にて全てのゲームにおける犯人の説明を人間にて完了する
I've fully explained the culprit using humans for all games. We haven't quite clarified where Canon is, but it's been stated he's dead. And we haven't clarified how Kumasawa and what's his face died. Kumasawa and Goda died. That might become activitis in a minute.
ベアトリーチェこれでチェックメイトだ
This is checkmate! Why don't you just say check? Don't say check unless you're absolutely certain there's no conceivable way your opponent could ever get out of it. stakes appear. Black ones this time. Battler's been saying checkmate a lot. He says checkmate several times, but it's not actually checkmate. I'm kind of disappointed. Beatrice, who couldn't dodge, had several blue stakes driven into her and was skewered. Beato grabbed at them, trying to pull them out somehow. Yeah, I don't remember this stake thing. Where'd the stakes come from?
食らっちまった
That got me.
痛えよこりゃ死ぬな
It'll kill me, won't it? It might. He's trying to assert his dominance by screaming checkmate. I suppose so. It doesn't really work in chess though. They already have a state in chess for you will lose in one turn. It's called check. That's the state where you're obligated to take an action or perish.
こいつを引き抜かな
If I
きゃ
don't pull. So when he's screaming checkmate, it's like, it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite follow your metaphor. I don't pull these out,
死んじ
I'll
ま
die.
う痛いのは
I've had enough of the
嫌
pain.
だ
Is Lambda Delta gonna step in and save Beato or some shit? Is Beato just being depressed and willing to die here?
辛いのは
I've had enough of
いや
the anguish. Or is Beato just waiting for the that emotional side of Battler to come through so she can rub it in his face that he's incompetent? With both hands, Beato firmly grasped one of the blue stakes. Naturally, the power of the witch denying blue truth burned her hands. Unable to even hide her tears at the pain, Beato howled and tried to pull the stakes out with all her might.
これが抜けなきゃ
If I can't pull these out, I'll die.
死んでしまうこれが最後の反撃
My final counterattack.
ならバトラ
And Battler.
ー我が魔法の数々
How do you explain my
をどう
several
説明するのか
acts of magic?
一番最初に登場したのは第二のゲームにおいてわらわがマリアのかぼちゃのマシュマロを直してやった時だ
The first time they appeared was in the second game, when I fixed Maria's pumpkin marshmallow.
この時ローザはその魔法を確かに目撃してい
At
る
that time, Rosa definitely witnessed that magic. Certainly at that time, Rosa witnessed gold butterflies gathering and the fixing of a marshmallow by the miracle of magic.
ローザ一人の目撃では信憑性がないであろ
Rosa alone witnessing it isn't very credible,
う
right?
だからわらわはその目撃者を極限まで増やしたのだ
Why I increased the number of witnesses to the uppermost limit later on.
それこそが今回のゲ
This
ー
is
ム
what happened in this last game.
我が眷属たちの召喚
The summoning of my minions.
そして魔法による虐殺
Brutal murders due to magic.
それらのすべてを大勢の人間たちに目撃させた
All witnessed by a great many people.
それこそが我が魔法の存在する証明
That itself is proof my magic exists.
これをどう説明するのか後ろ宮バトラ
Could you explain that, Ushirmiya Battler? Well, 1. No red text, which is not going to save you from the blue text. 2. People claiming magic is not in itself proof of magic. People claiming to have seen many things does not mean that they are supernatural in nature. Sorry, that
ス
one's
テイ
obvious.
ルメイト
Stalemate?
魔法があるから魔法はある
Magic exists because magic
そうい
exists.
う論法にはできないってのが俺たちのブラウン管裁判のルールのはずだぜ
Don't the rules of our brown tube trial say you can't use that kind of argument? You're right.
そうだったな
It wasn't even a red text defense.
誰が
No matter who,
何
Or how many
魔
people
法を目撃しようとも
witness magic?
それは魔法の存在の証明にはならない。
It is not proof of magic's existence.
俺はお前が見せてきた全ての魔法の存在するしないの遺憾に関わらず、そ
Whether
の
all the
全て
magic
を
you've
無
shown
視して
exists or not.
人間で説明することができる。
I can ignore it all and explain these things with humans.
それは俺の不可侵の権利である。
It's my undeniable right.
違ったか？
Am I wrong? Come on, Beato. At those words, the blue stakes let out an even brighter light, knocking my hands
や
away.
はり
Seems I can't
抜けぬか
pull them out after all. As Battler is now, even if I pull up a witness for each individual bit of magic and demand an explanation, he'll probably use some kind of move to deny all of them. Not just the magic with the marshmallow I showed Rosa, but all miracles of magic, so I can no longer even claim to be a witch without questioning him about something like how a marshmallow is fixed. I'm in such an inferior position I must fight over such trivialities.
わらわは
It may be
無理かもしれぬ
impossible for me.
分かっている
I know that.
もとより勝ちのなきゲームだったのだ
This was to be a game without victory from the very beginning.
なればいつか敗れる日が来るのは当然のこ
It's only natural the day of my defeat would eventually come.
とわらわは
Have I fought
バトラに敗れるためだけに今日までを
until today?
戦ってきたというのか
Just to lose to Battler?
勝てるかもし
I
れない
began
と
the game. Oh my goodness.
始めたゲー
Stop
ムだった
dragging it out. I began the game thinking I might be able to win.
簡単には勝てなくても無限に繰り返すゲームの中で
Even if I wouldn't be
い
able
つ
to win
かは
easily.
奇跡が起こると信じて
I
た
believed in a game repeating endlessly, a miracle that would eventually occur.
何しろわらわには絶対に勝つという絶対の意志がある
I had a certain willpower on my side. I had an unwavering desire to win with certainty.
しかし今やその奇跡は
But I've
完
lost
全
that
に失
miracle
われた
completely.
そして絶対の意志はバトラに宿り
That certain willpower
私
resides
には
in
万
Battler,
一の奇跡も絶対
leaving me without even a 1 in a million chance at a miracle.
いや奇跡も絶対もないが正しいの
Perhaps
か
I should say I've been left without a miracle or certainty.
勝利はなく引き
I'll
分けに
have
よる終
no
了もな
victory.
い
No end through a tie.
唯一許された決着
The only retribution allowed me
敗北を与えられるまで
is to continue
永
resisting
遠と抗うだけの
until defeat is finally given to me in this game.
そうさ
That's right,
バ
I
トラに殺されるためだけに
fighting only to be killed by
戦
Battler.
っている
Rough Beato. I looked into Battler's eyes. That which was reflected inside them wasn't me. The figures of the little sister waiting for his return and the family he had to bring back were reflected in those eyes. To him, my existence is already not even that of an individual. Obviously. From the beginning, he's been trying to deny the individual that I am. Yes, that last
前
game.
回のゲームは面白かったな
Sure was fun.
ちょっと騙しただけだったけど
I was only tricking him a little bit.
ほんのわずかの間だけでも分かり合えたような感じになって
But for a short period of time, it felt like we
面白
understood
か
each
った
other.
な
That was fun.
そうだよ
That's right.
あそこで手を打っておけばよかったん
I
だ
should have made my move then.
バトラがコロッと騙されたまま永遠に騙し続けてればよかったんだ
I should have continued for eternity with Battler, still totally fooled.
でも
But
ダメなんだよな
that's no good, right?
あれじゃ本当の
It wouldn't
勝
be
ちじゃ
true
ない
victory.
んだよな
これだ。チェックメイトか。
Is this? You can't say is this. It's a 100% thing. When you say checkmate, it means you've analyzed every move your opponent can make, and it's physically impossible for them to take any action. That saves them.
ベアトリーチェ。
You can ask that question if they're in check, not if you've already declared checkmate. If you declare checkmate and it's not actually over, you look like a moron. Oh well. Beato had been run through with several blue stakes, skewered over and over to the ground while still standing. Because of that, she wasn't even able to fall over. And I'd be sitting here thinking, why am I in this weird hall with Beatrice instead of in our usual dueling room where people don't randomly get stabbed with stakes? And still looking up to the sky was sewn in place. That tragic form might have been a fitting end for the cruel witch who'd endlessly toyed with 18 people's lives and who'd killed constantly for hundreds and thousands of years. Gently, as though someone was mourning over something, rain began to fall, and amidst the rain, Beato was soaked and crucified.
終わりなのか。ベアト。
Is it over, Beato?
グーの音も出ぬわ。
It even let out a squeak. People keep getting skewered on the fantasy side. Got something you want to tell us about your interests, Ryukishi? Maybe. The fighting game needed their special moves somehow.
まだだろ。
Not
お
yet.
前はこの程度で終わる女じゃねえだろ。
You aren't a woman who let things end with just this.
無茶
Don't
を
be
言う。
ridiculous.
この姿がどう見
Look,
た
you
ら
look at this.
終わっていないように
I think it isn't
見えるのか。
over.
早くとどめを刺せよ。
Hurry, quickly, deliver the final blow.
言っちまえよ。
Just say it.
お前の
Your blue truth.
青き真実で。以上によ
According
り
to this,
魔女は存在しない。
witches do not exist. Say it.
言っちまえよ。
Just say it.
その一撃で
With that single blow,
私の息の根
just put a stop.
を止めてしまえ。
My breathing.
ダメだな。
It's useless.
ほう、わらわにこれ以上。
You'd expose me to further shame?
すでに決着は
Isn't it
ついて
settled
おる
already?
立てよ。俺たちの殴り合いは
Our brawl
ま
still
だ
isn't
終わ
over.
ってない。
まだ
Not over, you say?
お前のそれは負けじゃない。
That just now wasn't you
も
losing
うやめたと投了しているだけだ。
and gave up.
いいではない
I-
か
Isn't that enough?
投了で
Wouldn't giving up
それでそなたの勝ちだ
mean
ろ
your
う。
victory?
とっとと
You should
妹のところへ
turn to your little sister.
帰るがいい。
Right away.
わらわなどこの場に打ち捨てていけ。
Throw me away right here.
俺は言ったはずだ。
Didn't I tell
逃
you?
げない。
I'm not running
そし
away.
て
And
お前を逃がさないとな。
I'm not letting you run away.
お前は何者だ。
Just who are you?
そして一
Is
体
Beatrice.
何が望みだった
What
ん
in the
だ。
world is it you want?
それが知りたくば。そなたの18番でも試せばよい。
You want to know? Why don't you just try your favorite move?
いいではないか。
Isn't it better this
た
way?
だの
With me as a mere
妄想、
delusion?
幻想。
An illusion?
それで
Isn't that
いいではない
enough?
か。
全然ダメだぜ。
Useless.
俺はお前を
I won't
逃がさない。
let you run away.
俺はお前を
I'll break
このまま
through
逃
you.
がしてなるもんか。
How do I let you run away like this?
お前をうやむ
I
やに
won't
し
let
た
you
ま
run
ま
back.
幻想の暗闇に逃げ帰らせはしない。
Not to the darkness of illusions while you're still hazy
打
like
ち
this.
破る。
I'll break
完
through
全に
you.
な。
Completely.
だから立て。
Stand
弱
up.
々しいふりなんかするな。
Don't act
お前
frail
は
like
まだ
this.
なんてか隠してる。
You're hiding several
俺に
moves.
はわかる。
I can tell.
な
Would
ぜ
she let me escape?
おとなしく見逃して
We have an
くれる
audience,
の
and
か
the audience needs to be entertained.
親父を、お袋を、そしてエンジェを。
Dad, Mom, and
い
NJ.
とこのみんなや親族のみんなを、
All my cousins and relatives.
そして使用人のみんなを。お前はあれだけもてあそんで殺した。
You toyed with them so much and killed
そ
them.
の非道を俺は絶対に忘れない。
I
許
won't
さない。
forgive that inhumanity.
俺の肩にはよ、まだエンジェの腕の感触が残ってるんだよ。
I can still feel NJ's arms on my shoulders, and I'm still disappointed that he hasn't used magic to transform his outfit.
俺はお前の非道を
I won't
許
forgive
さ
your
ない。
inhumanity.
だからそんなことで
I won't let you get away
許
like
さない。
this. Battler's eyes burn with the flames of hatred. This time had long since passed during which pitiful behavior would have earned his compassion. After being tricked once, Battler will never sympathize with me again.
狼と羊のパズ
Instead
ル
of the
どころ
wolves
か
and sheep.
これじゃ狼少年だな
Like the boy who cried wolf,
ど
isn't
う
it?
すればいいん
What
だ
am
よ
I supposed to
ど
do?
うすれば
What should I do? Is fighting endlessly only to avoid admitting defeat a fitting endless torture for the endless witch?
バトラに勝利を与えぬために無限に嫌がらせを繰り返すのもまた
Is endlessly harassing Battler to avoid giving him victory? Is that also part of being an endless witch? Well, might be your part of being an endless witch. So
悲
sad.
しいな
You shouldn't have picked the fight if you didn't want to.
こんなのが
It's so sad. Is this
無限の魔法なの
the
か
endless magic is?
も
Stalling magic? Yeah. I've
う嫌だ
had enough.
魔女たちに
I've
無限に玩具にされるなんても
of endlessly being toyed with by
う
witches.
嫌だ勝ちはなく引き分け終了
I'll
も
have
な
no
い
victory and no
な
tie.
らばわらわを解放してくれる結末は
In that case, there's only one result that can release me.
魔女の道に落ちた時から
Since the time I succumbed to the path of the
悪
witches,
魔と契約をしたその日か
path
ら
of witch. Since the day I made a contract with
末
demons,
路は悲劇であると
it was promised I would meet my end through
約
tragedy,
束
was
さ
it
れ
not?
ていたではないか
どうした
And what's wrong? If you're not real, you didn't make that promise.
黄金の魔女ベアト
Golden
リーチェ
witch, Beatrice.
ロッケン島の支配者ならば最後もそれにふさわしい貫禄を見せてみろ
If you're the ruler of Rockenjima, show me a majesty fitting for that, even at the very end. Lightning. The world was smashed with white. Fitting last moments for the ruler of Rockenjima. Still pierced by the blue stakes, Beato faced the rainy sky and let out a cry of laughter. Then she slowly raised her face and stared down at Battler.
愚か者め
Fool.
そなたの健闘をたたえ勝ちを譲ってやろうと思った
Just when I was about to praise your good fight and hand over victory.
慢心したな
You'll
後悔
regret
する
that
ぞ
pride.
それは譲られるものじゃね
It's not something for you to hand over.
えお前から奪い取るものだ
I'm taking
お
it
前だ
from
って
you.
そうだろうが
The same goes for you, right?
俺が魔女はいてもいいからなんて言い出すそんな甘っちょろい勝ち方が納得できなかったから
After all, you
前
never
回はわざ
could.
とああして最後にぶっ壊してくれたんだろうが
That was a longer sentence than I thought it would be, but that makes sense. You could never accept an easygoing victory where I just say, hey, maybe witches existing ain't so bad. Isn't that the very reason you intentionally fell apart like that at the end last time?
そうさ
That's right.
俺は前回お前に一度情けをもらってたんじゃねえか
Last game, you took pity on me just once, didn't you?
だからその借りをこれで返す
Now,
立て
pay back that debt.
俺
Stand.
の仇俺の黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ
My golden witch, Beatrice.
バカが
Ooh.
バカが
Well, okay, okay.
愚か者が
Simpleton.
二度とチャンスがあると思うな
You think you'll get another chance? If the fight'll last forever, he'll have another chance. When Beato yelled, the blue stake that pierced her chest blew to bits and disappeared. However, the blue wedge that pierced her foot in the very beginning did not vanish.
まだ抜けてないぜ
You can't pull it out yet.
18人目の X の青き真実が抜けていない
You can't pull out the blue truth of the 18th person X.
そなたの復唱要求の一つに応じる
I will respond to one thing you told me to repeat.
そなたの推理通り
As you
全
reason,
ゲームの開始時に金蔵はすでに死んでいる
Hinzo is already dead at the starting time for all games. Well, I mean, based on her own answers, saying things like his life or death status never changed, it was pretty obvious.
しかしならばつまりは一人を抜かせばよいこと
However, this means you can take one person
わ
out.
らわはこれまでこの島には19人以上の人間は存在しないと宣言してきた
Before now, I have proclaimed no more than 18 humans exist on this
そ
island.
れを金蔵の分一人減らす
I will lower it by one for Kinzo.
この島には18人以上の人間は存在しない
No more than 17 humans exist on this island.
以上とはつまり18人目を含め
That
る
excludes any 18th person.
つまり18人目の X は存在しない
This 18th person X does not exist.
これは全ゲームに共通することである
Applies to all games. Very important info. Every person who told Battler they spoke to Kinzo was lying to his face.
そう
Yep.
だ見ろ
Either every single person who said they spoke to Kinzo was lying, or was otherwise deceived by someone else. What do you
や
know?
っぱりまだとんでもねえ奥の手を隠してやがったぜ
Looks like you're hiding some pretty crazy stuff up your sleeve after all.
17人しか人間のいない島が18人と偽られてきた
The island, which had no more than 17 people on it, has been set up to appear as though it were 18.
それが一人減って17人になりようやく正しい数になったってわけだ
Alright, since we're taking one off the list, making it 17, we finally reached the correct number. Are you sure about that? Unreliable witnesses in my Umineko? Yeah, right. Are we positive this is the correct number? Because she's changed it to no more than 17. Ask if there are 16 people at the start of any of the games. I would question everyone's... Is there anyone we haven't seen in the same room as someone else? Or, like, seen their body. Does that make sense? I think we've seen all the bodies. Are the bodies something we don't have to believe? 17.5, Mari has a twin joined to her. We've seen... Have we seen... Has Battler seen... Okay, let's see. Battler has seen... In the most recent thing, Battler saw corpses for Kinzo. Alright, let's see. In the most recent scene... Like, going off the most recent thing, Battler saw the corpses of every single person but Canon. Is Canon not who we think he is? Is Canon, like... No, wait, we've seen Canon, right? Is there any possibility that Canon and Jessica are the same person? Is there a possibility Canon and Jessica are the same person? Like he says, we haven't. Does she have to answer if you request more specific number fuel? I don't know if she has to. And I don't know if it's relevant. I'm just trying to think, like, because Canon and Jessica, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, are there any people Battler hasn't seen in person at the same time together? So, like, when Canon and Jessica were supposedly killed together, Canon disappeared. And they couldn't find his body. Yeah? Like, supposedly these two were together, and then Canon was dead, but they didn't see his body. So I'm like, well, that's suspicious. But I think it was Goda or Genji claimed to be with the... claimed to see the two together. That said, that's not Battler. I'm like, who... I'm trying to remember the setups for the deaths of the servants. To see who's, like, been confirmed dead. I think Shannon was confirmed dead in the first one. Did Cannon also die in the first one? I don't remember how he died. No, Cannon was still alive, and we had a corpse for Shannon, right? And I think we've confirmed that. Okay. Did Jessica die first arc? I don't think she was dead. I think we saw both of these in the same place there. Maybe that doesn't work. I think we've seen most people in the same place. I think we saw both of these. He obviously saw both his parents as being real people. There's a red truth in the description. Did she use the red truth before in the game? Yeah, she used the red truth to say Cannon is dead. Shannon was proclaimed dead by Hideyoshi. True. But we don't know if there was red... There was probably red text to say Shannon was dead. Battler didn't see Shannon's corpse in 1. She was hidden in a weird corner. We saw her with the hole in her head in 3, though. So it's possible Shannon's not real? It's possible Shannon is someone else? Or it's possible... That doesn't make sense. Possible Shannon is... Who would Shannon be then? In 2. Whoops. In 3, she died first. Yes, in 3, I think all the servants bid it first. In 2, she was dead. I'm just trying to think of, like, if there was some other unusual death. Because we're missing the body of Cannon, right? He's claimed dead. But that's very suspicious. So I'm like, is there a way to reduce the number of people who exist by 1? Yeah, I need to go through a lot of the testimonies and read text. And again, I'm suspicious of anything saying someone by name is dead because it's like pretty iffy. Even Battler's been playing with people with succeeding names, and we know Shannon and Cannon are the most suspicious people. Like, Shannon and Cannon are the most suspicious people because they're known to have different names. Like, even Battler brought up the concept of name succession, and I brought it up earlier, the possibility that people could change names. So Cannon could be dead because he's no longer going by that name and goes by a different name. You know, I don't know. The witch depression mage 420. I don't know. He could be anything. Shannon has a similar thing where her name is Saya, right? Her name is actually Saya. So if they say Shannon's dead, is it because she quit her job or is refusing to work for them anymore? Sayo, sorry. I said Saya. I meant... I didn't even mean differently. I actually just thought it was a slightly different name there. Just like School Day. Yeah, so I'm like really suspicious of these two being dead at any point. We don't like remember their bodies. Both being there. Which is why it's like iffy on the non-Joe stuff, but we'll see. I have there's big red flags for me regarding these two. This guy's dead off screen. Shannon's dead on screen. Alright. So maybe he's good. XX Depression Mage 420 is Kennon's name. Actually, he probably most depressed edgy people don't use Depression Mage. He'd probably be like Lord of Tears. He'd probably be something edgier than Lord of Tears too. Gotta work on my random ass names. So Battler claims we've finally reached the right number, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. It just means we've gotten one closer to the real number.
これだ。お前をぶち抜いていたくさびが抜かれたな。
This way, the wedge I knocked into has been removed, and he wouldn't call himself Depressed Mage. He'd call himself like furniture. He'd call himself furniture. Right. This way, the wedge I knocked into you has been removed.
戦いはゼロから仕切り直しってわけ
We'll
だ。
have to start the fight over from square one. The blue wedge that had sewn Beato into place broke apart. There was no longer anything piercing her. The scars on her body disappeared completely, and there stood, just as Battler had hoped for, the figure of the majestic golden witch who ruled Rockinjima.
さあ来いバトラ
Then come, Battler.
もう一度最初からだ
Once more from the
全
beginning.
てについて青き真実で打ち抜いてみよ
Try and break through everything with the blue truth.
わらわももはや遊ばぬ逃げもせぬ
I
隠れ
too
もせぬ
will no longer play run or hide.
そなたが不甲斐ないならばこの勝負この場にて決着してくれようぞ
If you're worthless, I'll end this match right here, right now.
わらわの譲り勝利にて妥協しなかったことを永遠に後悔させてくれる
By grand victory, I'll make you regret your refusal to compromise for all
さ
eternity.
あ
Come,
第一のゲームからだ
starting from the first game.
おう第一のゲーム。第一の番からだ。
From the twilight of the first game, it's been a long
最
time.
初の園芸倉庫で見つかった親族6人の殺人に不審な点はない。
There's nothing strange about the murder of the 6 relatives that were found in the gardening shed at the
アリ
start.
バイのない誰にでも犯行は可能だった。
The crime was possible for any of those who didn't have an alibi.
有効だ
Valid.
続けるぞ
Continue.
次のエヴァ夫婦の
What about the
密
next
室殺人はどうか
With Ava and Hideyoshi.
チェーンまでかかった密室であったぞ
Even the chain was set for that closed room.
赤き真実を追加する
I shall add to the red truth.
二人は他殺である
Both deaths were homicides.
密室構築後に片方を殺害の後に自殺したのではない
It is not the case that after the construction of the closed room, one of them committed suicide after murder. Okay, so our original idea was like some weird device that could shoot someone around a corner, right? Through a wall. It was pretty improbable. I would say I don't think we had access to the keys at that point, or did we? Let's
ま
find
た
out.
殺人は執行者犠牲者が共に同室して行われた
The murder was carried out with both victim and perpetrator in the same room.
執行者が室外から殺害する手段は存在しない
No method exists for the perpetrator to commit murder from outside the room. Perhaps,
犯人にはアリバイのない人間を想定する。
suppose the culprit was a human without an
そ
alibi.
れは死者だ。
In other words, the dead.
最初の6人の死体の中には顔面粉砕による身元不明死体が含まれる。
We weren't able to identify some of the first 6 corpses because of their smashed faces.
これが
Yep, okay.
実は偽装死体で犠牲者のふりをして姿をくらました犯人 X が2人を殺したとの仮説は可能だ。
A culprit X killed those 2 after making us think they were a victim and hiding
そして
away.
犯人は密室殺人構築後ベッドの下に隠れ俺たち全員をやり過ごしたんだ。
And then, after the closed room murder was constructed and the culprit hid under the bed and waited for all of us to come and leave.
よかろう次だ
Well, next. She didn't claim that there could be no one hidden in the room, I think, until like the next trial.
ボイラー室に至ったカノンが殺されたな
Cannon in the boiler room, correct?
赤き真実を追加する
I'll add to the red,
すべて
okay.
の生存者にアリバイがある
All the survivors have alibis.
さらに死者も含めようぞ。
Let's include the dead as well.
つまり島のいかなる人間にも死者にもカノンは殺せなかった。
In short, no kind of human or dead person on the island could have killed Cannon. Everyone has an alibi. Suicide.
誰にも殺せないなら自分で殺したということはあるかもな。
If no one killed him, he might have been the one to kill.
ならカノン君は自殺かもしれ
I'd
ない。
like to point out she said they all had alibis, none of them killed. So it could have been a trap, I believe. I don't remember if that was dispelled in the original trial, though. Cannon-kun might have killed himself.
副将要求。カ
Repeat.
ノン君は自殺ではない。
Cannon-kun did not commit suicide.
カノンは自殺ではない。
See? Cannon-kun did not commit suicide.
重ねるぜ。
One more.
副将要求。カノン君は他殺された。
Cannon-kun's death was a homicide.
復讐を拒否する。
I refuse to repeat it. He died by mistake?
その拒否で
By that refusal,
他
it may
殺を
be
認めること
possible.
も可能だが、お前はすでに赤で誰にも殺せなかったと宣言している。
It may be possible to view it as a homicide, but you've already proclaimed in red no one could
つ
have
まり
killed him.
他殺ではないんだ。
In other words, it's not a homicide. You can't remember 80% of the red in the game unless you go back and see it on your own, right? You gotta kind of like vaguely remember what the assumptions were. Which can be best be done for some of the it can best be done for some of the trials by simply remembering at what point new concepts were introduced. You're like, I don't think X was introduced until the second chapter, therefore this might be an argument. So like suicide wasn't proclaimed, I think, until start of chapter 3, maybe? So you ought to check for suicides in the first 2 chapter murders.
これは第3のゲームの連鎖密室と同じなのさ。
This is the same as the linked closed rooms from the 3rd game.
カノン君は自殺でも他殺でもない理由で死亡したんだ。
Cannon-kun died for a reason that was neither suicide nor
状
homicide.
況は不明だが事故死というわけさ。
The details are unknown, but he died due to an accident.
胸に杭がぶち込まれて死んでしまうような、どのようなドジを踏んで事故死に至ったかについての説明は悪魔の証明により説明拒否。
Because of the devil's proof, I refuse to explain what kind of blunder could have led to an accidental death where a stake was driven into his chest. Ooh, that's such a statement loaded with copium. Oh my goodness.
悪魔の力を身につけたそなたは今や敵なしだな。
Now that you've borrowed the power of demons, you're without
有
peace.
効であるぞ。
It's valid.
ならばその後の客間にての源氏、男女、熊沢の3名の殺
In
人は
that
どう？
case, what about the murders after that in the parlor? Genji, Nanjo, Kumasawa?
無論
Naturally.
同室していたマリアは殺していないぞ。
Mari, who was in the same room,
そ
did
し
not
て
kill
もち
them.
ろん3人は他殺だ。
Copium, the ultimate power to beat witches. I mean, that's all you have to do in this game, right? Is cope harder. Like you're just like, I know they've never released. I know this company hasn't released a sequel to my favorite game in 15 years, but we don't know for sure that they won't release a sequel. Maybe in another 15 years there'll be a sequel. And she's like, well, shit, I can't deny that one. Maybe in 150 years they'll release a sequel to your favorite game. Of course, their 3 deaths were homicides.
殺人を実行したのは身元不明死体で姿をくらました犯人 X で説明できる。
Yep. The culprit acts using an unidentified corpse is an easy use for a lot of these. This one could also be like murder, suicide, but like we don't know that.
そも
It's
そ
a
も
devil's proof that Half-Life 3
あの
won't
3人の
commit.
顔面も粉砕されていた。
So after all, those 3 had their faces.
どれかが替え玉死体の可能性は十分にある。
It's possible one of them was a body double corpse.
身元不明死体についてその身元をすべて保証する。
I guarantee you the identities of all unidentified corpses.
すなわち替え玉トリックは存在しない。
There were no body double tricks. Okay.
ならば相打ち殺人で説明できる。
Then you can explain it with simultaneous murders. Cannon died a natural death and fell at a random stroke, falling on a stake, dying.
3人はそれぞれに銃を持って時計回りに突きつけ、同時に相手の顔面を吹き飛ばした。
Alright, each of them had a gun pointed at clockwise, blew each other's faces off at the same time.
その後マリアがその銃を回収して隠した。
After that, Mario collects the guns and hides them.
これならどうだ。
How about that one? She can say Mario didn't. Wait, what?
なんという
What
暴
a
論。
ridiculous argument. You're saying 3 people just randomly decide to all shoot each other and then Mario hid their guns? What a ridiculous argument, but that's the game we're playing.
気に入った。
How amusing.
ならば最後の夏日は
And then Natsuhi in the end? That one's easy. Natsuhi shot herself.
赤き真実を追加。
I'll add to the red.
夏日は他殺である。
Natsuhi's death was a homicide.
身元不明死体は一切なく、生存者も全員がアリバイがある。
There are no unidentified corpses. All the survivors have alibis.
トラップ X による間接殺人で説明できる。
Explain it with an indirect murder due to trap X. Indirect murder trap X. The gun is loaded with the trap and misfires.
夏日おばさんの銃に細工がされてたんだ。
Something was done to Natsuhi's gun.
あの銃は構えて撃った人間のちょうど眉間に弾をくれてやるように作られた罠の銃だったとすれば説明できる。
Yep. It could have been a trap gun built to send the bullet right into the forehead of anyone who tried to hold it up and shoot it. Okay.
夏日の額に埋まりし銃弾は夏日の銃から放たれたものではない。
The bullet buried in Natsuhi's forehead was not fired from her gun.
夏日おばさんは内容不明の手紙によりおびき出された可能性がある。
It's possible Natsuhi was lured out by the letter whose contents were unknown.
そしてオールに呼び出された。
She was called into the hall.
そして特定の時刻に特定の場所に立つように強いられた。あらかじめ設置してあった銃を利用したトラップ X により殺害されたんだ。
He was murdered by Trap X, but she used a gun that had been installed there beforehand. He used a very long way to explain that. Specified location, specified time. I would have just said that there was a trap. There's a Trap X, which uses a gun that was installed beforehand.
素晴らしい。
Wonderful.
そなたの暴論はもはや心地よくすらある。
These reckless arguments of yours are even starting to feel pleasurable now.
敬意を表し、第一のゲームをそなたに譲ろうぞ。
Out of respect, I shall hand the first game over to you.
感服した
Well
わ。
done, well done. The instant Beato acknowledged her defeat in the first game, stakes of the blue truth once again pierced her chest, letting out a terrible sound.
これくらいでは答えぬわ。
Hardly painful.
まだまだ
It's not over yet.
来い。第二のゲー
Game
ムだ。
2. Get ready yourself. Beato just barely pulled out the stakes that had pierced her chest. But even though there was no hole left behind, she still seemed to be bearing a deep wound that was letting out a massive amount of blood. And she was tormented by an equally fierce pain. Beato grinned, grinding her teeth, and pushed for the next game to start. I won't feel sympathy for her. Just by her existing here, we've been killed and harassed over and over. This has got to be the longest tea party we've actually had. I was told before we started this that this would be a long tea party and that it might take all our time, but damn, they were not wrong. I thought long, I didn't think this long. Whew. And NJ has been burdened with a future of isolation. According to Battler, there's a culprit outside the 6 of Twilight 1. One of the 6 wasn't dead. Cannon was in an accident. 6 to 8 made a murder pact with each other. And Nazi, he was killed by a trap. Makes total coherent sense. His overall summary is weak.
そうとも。わらわがここにて、ただ笑うだけでも。
But the individual murders, I think it makes sense for the individual murders for him to cope that hard. I guess Beatrice could have retroactively pressed him on the first murder, or the second murder, if he says that those people weren't dead. Correct. Just by me being here and laughing, this eternal hell will continue. Yep.
そなたを妹に返しはしない。
I won't give your little sister back.
妹は帰らぬ家族に1000年の間泣き続ければよい。
Let her cry over the family that won't return for the next 1,000 years.
畜生が情けも容赦もしねえぜ。第二のゲームだ。行く
No
ぜ。
compassion. No mercy. On to the second
まず
game.
は最初の事件だ。
I'll start with the first crime.
6人が殺された礼拝堂での密室殺人については、当時の俺がすでにカンパしている。
Right after it happened, I penetrated to the truth of the closed room murder where the six were killed in the chapel.
マリアの鍵を何者かが密かに拝借し、事件終了後に密かにマリアのカバンに戻したんだ。
Someone secretly borrowed Maria's key and secretly returned it to Maria's bag after the crime was over.
マリアの鍵はマリア受領後から翌日のローザ開封の瞬間まで誰の手にも渡っていない。
From the time Mari received her key to the instant Rosa unsealed the envelope the next day, the key passed through no one's hands. Conclusion: Rosa is the killer. Easy question. Easy, right? You're like, oh, it passed through no one else's hands? Okay. Rosa's the killer. And she opened it at 12:01 a.m. I'm just saying. Rosa stepped out to go to the bathroom. Said, hey, I got this key, let's go.
ジジイの書斎と同じ構造で、礼拝堂の扉がオートロックだった可能性がある。
Door might have had an auto lock like Dramp's
つまり
study.
事件前に開錠しておいて、
Unlocked
扉
before
が
the
閉ま
crime.
りきらないように石でも挟んでおいた。
It was unlocked before the crime with a rock or something wedged in so it couldn't close completely.
そして鍵をマリアに預けた。
Someone gives the key to
施錠
Maria.
はオートのため、鍵は必要なかったとの仮説もあり得る。
The lock's automatic, so it's possible to make a theory where the key wasn't needed.
金蔵の書斎以外にオートロックの扉は存在しない。
There's no doors with auto locks other than Kinzo's study. Expound on this. The door was already open. She locked it in the morning after the murders. She locked it in the morning after the murders. Let's go with that. Someone locked it after the murder. It was already opened and someone used the key to lock it, specifically Rosa.
扉は犠牲者たちが内側から閉めたんだ。
The victims locked the door from the
6
inside.
人の中に犯人がいて、5人を殺し、死んだふりをしていた。
One of the six was the culprit and this person killed the other five and then pretended to be dead. They were all clearly dead.
6人は発見時にすでに全員死亡していた。
The six were dead by the time they were discovered.
全員が他殺だ。
All of their deaths were
6人
homicides.
は全員が純粋な犠牲者であり、相互の殺人には関与しない。
All six were genuine victims and did not participate in a mutual murder.
相打ち殺人は存在しない。
There was no simultaneous murder.
熊沢さんをはじめ、当時アリバイがない人間が存在した。
There were people, Kumasawa-san in particular, who had no alibi at the time.
そんな誰かが6人を殺し、内側に隠れていたと仮定すれば問題ない。
If we assume someone was hiding on the inside, we've got no problems.
あの礼拝堂には
There was
誰
no
も
one
隠れ
hiding
て
in
い
the
なかっ
chapel. That one seems straightforward.
た。よってその引きこもり密室は通用しない。
The shut-in murder does not occur. Yeah, okay. Oh, was it the end of the second one where they proposed shut-in murders? I might have gotten that sequence wrong. I thought it was the Kinzo kill. My bad. I thought it was Kinzo kill in the first one. That was a shut-in murder.
どうしたよ後ろ宮バートラー。
Is that all?
そ
You're
れで終
sure
わ
me
り
about
か
it?
第2のゲームからは甘くないぜ。
Not so easy once you get to the second game, right? It was a thundering exchange of red and blue truth. Why are the stakes? Oh, their stakes are reforming and forming. Here we go. Alright, battler. Lay the truth down. The stakes and wedges of the blue truth that I sent flying attacked one after the other, and Beato cut them down one after another with her red truth, her treasured red sword knocking them down. But the blood she lost from her first game was probably serious. This intense exercise was putting an even greater strain on her. I could also see her breath grow ragged. That's why I can't hold back now. I'll corner that witch. This time I'll break through her.
まだだぜ。
Not yet.
ああ、
Useless.
ダメだ。
It's all
全
useless.
然ダメだ。俺のヘリクツは終わっちゃいねえぜ。
My twisted and warped logic isn't done yet. Okay, lay it on us.
ならばこれはどうだ。
How about this? Mario's the killer.
彼らに与えられた飲食物に小型爆弾が入っていて、腹の中で爆発した。
The food they were given had small bombs in it which exploded from inside their stomachs. Possible.
つまりトラップ X による犯行の可能性。
In other words, the crime was possible through Trap X.
気づかずに飲み込んで腹をぶちまけるような爆弾の詳細については悪魔の証明。
The exact nature of the bombs they could swallow without noticing and which could also blow up in their stomachs is a devil's proof. Small bombs. That's his argument. The hardest cope of all time. Small bombs. He said it. Small bombs. Small bombs kill everyone. Is that going to be his response for like every head destruction? Small bomb. Not even selecting poison. For those of you who may not remember, the bodies in this second game, in the second chapter's first murder, basically had their stomachs explode, and it looked like they'd been stuffed with candy. Now the candy was mostly wrapped, so that was clearly not the case where they ate it, but small bombs causing their stomachs to explode is sort of possible. Like, it's iffy how small the bomb could be. Yeah, you like how he brings up small bombs are just trap X, so it could be any trap. But he pushes small bombs anyway, like the chatty is. Yeah, straight to bombs. I mean, it's pretty hard. Like, theoretically, you know, C4 is basically just like, you know, plastic explosives are basically just plastic with an electrical charge running through them, right? Like, theoretically, you could get someone to eat... Theoretically, I think you could get someone to eat that. You eat plastic explosives, but the detonator would be the hard part. Yeah. I mean, it'd be like eating... I assume, like, by itself, it'd be like eating clay or Play-Doh. Like, no one would sensibly do that. But maybe if you, like, mixed it in with, like, some other kinds of candy, like taffy or maybe not taffy, but like you could mix it. You could theoretically, like, I'm just coping for badly here. I'm like, you could theoretically trick someone into eating that. You know, you give them a bunch of weird candies, and they're like, "The fuck is this candy? It tastes mediocre." They eat it anyway because the rest of the candies were okay. Like, maybe you could get someone to do that, but I have no clue how you'd kill them with it because you need to detonate it. Yeah, they swallow. Yeah, assuming someone just grabs a bunch of clay and like swallows it whole, so the detonator comes with it. Yeah, a bit iffy. But whatever. Alright, the exact nature of the bombs they could swallow without noticing and which then also blow up their stomachs is the devil's proof. Yeah. You refuse to explain? Fair enough. What the hell's that? Even Beatrice is lost at how ridiculous that is. Small bomb. Beato failed to knock down the blue wedge as it flew at an angle like a breaking pitch. It let out a loud thunk and gouged itself deep into her left shoulder. However, even as the breaking pitch hit her, her laughter didn't seem to be stopping. Yeah, I get it. Even I think the theory is pretty screwed up. Beato thinks it's so funny she doesn't bother refuting it. She's like, this is so stupid. Who would ever come up with this? Apparently Battler. Laugh as much as you want. Got a problem with that? No. A pleasurable, reckless argument. Next up, the closed room with Jessica and Cannon.
問題ない。
No problem
使用人
there.
の誰かが犯人であればマスターキーを使える。
If the culprit's one of the servants, they could have used
密
the
室
master
ですら
key.
ない。
It's not even a closed room.
その後使用人室でカノンらしき謎の人物が襲いかかり南條と熊沢が殺されたな。
After that, there was an attack in the servant room from a mystery person who seemed to be Cannon, and Nanjo and Kumasawa were killed, right?
カノンの死亡はあの時刻以前に赤で宣言済みだった。
I already proclaimed Cannon's death in red before that time.
ならばあの
Who
カ
was
ノン
that
は
Cannon?
何者だというのか。
Cannon goes by a different name as a safe one.
カノン君の死亡は赤で宣言済みならば生きているわけがない。
If Cannon-kun's death was proclaimed with the red, there's no way he was alive.
襲われた彼らがカノン君と誤認するような何者かの変装の可能性がある。
There's a chance the one who attacked the group was in a disguise that made everyone mistakenly think it was Cannon-kun.
彼らは異なる人物をカノンと誤認することは絶
They'd
対にない。
never mistakenly think any other person was Cannon.
ならば金蔵の名の世襲と同じにカノンの名が世襲された可能性がある。
Like the heredity of Kinzo's name, there's a possibility Cannon's name was inherited by someone named Kinzo. Or named Cannon. I don't know about the name inheritance.
カノン君が殺され別の人物がその名を受け継ぎ彼らを襲ったと仮定できる。
Suppose Cannon-kun was killed, a different person succeeded the name, and this person attacked them. So dumb, but is she... A sound like a watermelon being squashed ran out, and a blue wedge was buried deep into Beato's left flank. Maybe it hit in a bad place, and it seemed to be really effective. After leaning over and moaning for a while, she laughed it off as though trying to make it seem like it's no big deal. Yeah, I get it. That must have hurt a lot. These arguments are so stupid.
またしてもこともなげに人間の誰かを犯人に仕立ててきやがったぜ。
Once again, you set up some human as the culprit as if
ゲ
it were
ーム
nothing.
盤上では口が裂けても言えぬことを実にシャーシャーとのたまん。
You're gabbing on and on about things you'd never be able to open your mouth and say on the game board.
しかし有効だ。
And yet it's
こ
valid.
の暴言
Why?
心地よし。
This reckless argument is so
心
pleasurable.
地よいぞ。
Truly
こ
pleasurable.
れは痛みではない。
It's not pain. It's pleasure.
心地よさだ。
Even Beatrice is powered by copium. When Beato howled, the wedge that pierced her was blasted away. But the wound remained, and she continued being tormented by a fierce pain. Probably going to be unpleasant to sit down now, isn't it?
続けていくぜ。
You ready? I'll keep
第2
going.
のゲームの最後の殺人夏日おばさんの部屋で死んだ3人についての青き真実は18人目の X を否定されても有効のはず。
The three who died in Natsuhi's room should still be valid even with the 18th person denied.
赤で反論はあるか？
Given a counter for that in red?
なければ第2のゲームも俺のものだ。
If you don't, the second game's all mine too.
ああ、ないぞ。
No, I don't.
そのようなさまつで戦うのもつまらない。
Fighting over trivial matters
くれ
bores
てや
me.
る。第2のゲームだぞ。貴様にくれてやるわ。
I'll give you the second game. We got half these games already. Not looking good, Beato. The instant she acknowledged her loss in the second game, 2 blue stakes gouged through Beato's chest this time. The witch's lungs were gouged, as were her intestines. Her face was in anguish. Her body twisted as she gasped in pain.
痛えのか？
Does it hurt? Hurt?
痛い？いやいや。
No, no, no.
くすぐったいくらいよ。
It just tickles.
全身を細切れにされてくず肉の山にされたお前の妹に比べればね。
There we go. I was gonna say, at least compared to having your entire body torn to shreds and turned into a pile of scrap meat like your
お
sister.
前もくず肉にしてやるぞ。兄弟仲良く混ぜて合いびきにしてくれるわ。
I'll make you scrap meat too, and you siblings can be all mixed together like ground beef and pork. Yeah, but who's ground beef and who's pork? Who's... Okay, in a mix of ground beef and pork from ground up NJ and Battler, which one is the ground beef and which one's the pork? It's a... I'm like, wouldn't she want to insult NJ by calling her a pig? But then cow is also an insult. Where do I go? Which one's Battler? What's dumber, a cow or a pig? Neither of them directly imply less intelligence than the other. Oh well.
ぶち殺してやる。お前を同じ細切れにしてやる。
I'll beat you to death and tear you to bits the same way.
次だ。
Next.
第3のゲームだ。
Game the
いつ
third.
までへばってやがる。
How long are you gonna sit around? I'll warn it like
て
that.
めえを地獄に叩き落としてやるのは
I
こ
only
れか
started
ら。
knocking you straight down to hell. Are there lyrics in the background of this track? I swear I just heard dialogue.
無論よ。
Huh.
これくらいでへばるものか。
Naturally, as if something like this could wear me down.
そうとも。まだまだこれからよ。
You're right. We're still just getting started.
さあ、第3のゲ
Crown
ー
beef
ムを
gonna
始
be
めよう
NJ.
ぞ。
Alright, alright.
まずは最初の6連結の連鎖密室。
Let's begin the third game, starting with 6 linked closed rooms. I think we solved this one with 1 suicide.
本来ならこの密室はそなたが当時にカンパしている。
He supposedly did penetrate this closed room at the
し
time.
かしそなたは金蔵を
But then
殺
you
して
killed off
しまった
Kinzo. Whoa, whoa. Our original proof for this was 5 murders and a suicide. Get out of here. At the time, my theory is Gramps was the culprit. Lie, you theorized 5 murders and a suicide. Gramps was only the culprit as of this chapter. After killing the other 5 and stringing the keys across each room, he constructed his own closed room in the boiler room. And there he died in an accident while carrying out some kind of scheme, burning to death in the boiler. Couldn't it have been anyone? But now I've declared Gramps was already dead. I denied my own theory myself, ironically enough. Just pick someone else. However,
問題ない。
there's no problem. As long as it's not the person inside the chapel, I think you're good, right? I think it's the person... I think as long as it's not the person inside the chapel, you're good.
ジジイ以外にも犯行可能な人間は大勢いる。
Plenty of people beside Gramps could have committed the crime.
親族会議中だった大人たちが全員グルで犯行に及んだとさえ
You
言い
could
切れ
even
る。
claim all the adults holding the conference were in on it.
マスターキー5本はすべて5人の使用人の懐よりそれぞれ発見された。
Oh, did she deny suicide? I couldn't remember. No, I didn't think she denied suicide because he just used his own theory of Kinzo killing himself in the furnace. All 5 master keys were discovered, each in the pocket of one of the servants.
個別の鍵は死体の傍らの封筒の中に。
The individual room keys were found inside envelopes alongside the corpse. Or was it the accidental death that happened? Was it Kinzo accidentally dying by going into the furnace? After locking it? I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it was suicides though. Oh well. The individual room keys were found inside envelopes inside the
つまり
corpses.
連鎖密室に関わるすべての鍵が連鎖密室内に閉じ込められていたわけだ。
In short, all keys related to the linked closed rooms were locked inside the linked closed rooms.
ドアの隙間だの窓の隙間だの通気口だのそんなところを使って密室外から鍵を戻すことなどできるぞ。
No key could have been returned from the outside the room using the crack of the door, the crack of the window, the vents, or any place of the sort. I thought it was like suicide that we went with on this one.
なら毒ガスで殺したんだ。
No traps. I believe traps were negated. Poison gas.
鍵は通らなくてもガスなら通るぜ。
If a key couldn't pass through
密
gas
室の
pit.
外から殺人を実行したんだ。
The murder was carried out from outside the closed room.
彼ら全員には致命傷となった重曹と思わしき傷跡があったぞ。
All of them had what appeared to be gunshot wounds that were fatal.
室外からの殺害は不可能だぞ。
Murdering them from outside the room would have been impossible.
さらに赤を重ねようぞ。
I'll say it more with Red.
金蔵を除く5人の殺人の際、殺人者は必ず同室していた。
When the 5, other than Kinzo, were killed, the killer was definitely in the same room as
自
them.
殺者がいないことは当時に赤で宣言済みだ。
I already proclaimed in red at the time there were no suicides. Oh, thank you. Okay. No suicides. An accidental death? I think she negated accidental deaths. This one's interesting.
犯人は全員をそれぞれの部屋で殺害後、連鎖密室を構築した。
After the murder of each person in their respective rooms, the culprit created a linked closed room. I think this doesn't work because one of them has to be locked in their
し
own
かし
room.
最後の部屋の鍵だけはどうしても密室内に戻せない。
But the culprit had no way to return just the key to the very last
だが
room.
戻すことはできた
Yet
ぜ。
they were able to do it.
死体の第一発見者が鍵を見つけたふりをして誰かの死体のポケットから取り出して見せればいいからだ。
Not a bad argument. After all, the first one to discover a corpse just had to pretend to find the key to pull it from the pocket of one of the corpses. I feel sorry for people with epilepsy. That white and black flashing probably gonna give them a headache. She couldn't fully block the retort of that blue stake. Beto was pushed back by the blue wedges that were unleashed on her one after another, finally failed to block one. And once again, took a severe wound. Beto, it's not looking good, Beto. What's happening? She says without love it can't be seen, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all, Beto. As she howled in pain, she pulled out the blue wedge that had pierced her right arm. Oof, these are still going strong. Doesn't look pleasant, Beto. Beto's entire body had been torn apart and pierced with blue wedges, stakes, and blades over and over again. Somehow she's still not dead and she's only on a bit past halfway. Now she was totally covered in blood. Strangely enough, her outfit looks pretty good. Even so, Beto grinned, cackling as though this was amusing.
エンジェに親を連れ戻して帰宅すると約束した男がどの口で親を犯人にした説を語るというのか。
How could a man who promised to bring NJ's parents home voice a theory where those parents are culprits?
いいぜ、それでもいいんだぜ。
Splendid. Even if that's just fine, right? Right?
家族で仲良く大量殺人に手を染めて
Go be a big happy family getting their hands dirty with mass
決して
murder.
落ちぬ血にまみれながらエンジェのところに帰れよ。
Return to NJ, stained with blood that will never come off.
それでこそ魔女の島からの生還者にお似合いだぜ。
How could we expect anything less from people who returned alive from the Witch's
ク
Island?
ズ肉エンジェにぴったりだ。
Just what mincemeat NJ needs. Just what that mincemeat NJ needs. Oh, that's so mean. But getting old. The insult's getting old.
黙りやがれ。
Shut up. Remember, although it's been several hours for us, I believe it's been a relatively short amount of time for Battler. It's been like 15 minutes. And she's used mincemeat like 50 times. It's like, we get it. Your insult's getting old. Be more inventive.
てめえを殺せ。
I'll kill
バ
you.
ラバラにして殺せ。
I'll kill you. I'll tear you apart.
命乞いの必要はなぜ。絶対にこの手で最悪の死を与えてやる。
No need to waste your time begging for your life. I'll definitely give you the worst kind of death by my own hands.
ああ、そなたならできるだろう
You
よ。
could probably do it. Probably.
千年の果てに残虐の限りを尽くしきったわらわにそれに見合う最後を与えてくれるだろうよ。
I've explored the depths of cruelty for over 1,000 years, and you probably will gift me with a fitting end for all that. In the end, this story is Battler's imagination, as all his family dies while he's exploring Kuadorian or something. And he's the lone survivor of the island. Is that the truth? Beatrice in this fantastical, magical world, or his escape from the reality that his family is dead? Or his way of coming to terms with it? That could be an interesting twist. But it's so obvious from the start. I don't know if they'd do that because it's too easy. Too easy and too obvious, since Battler's the protagonist. Maybe he's in an insane asylum. Too boring. Maybe they'll get something interesting as a twist at the end. A fitting end for all that, perhaps.
ああ、それは痛
Does
い
it
の
hurt?
か
Does it hurt?
辛いのか
Is it hard?
それとも
Does
くす
it
ぐったい
tickle?
のかなこれくらいで答えるかよ来いよ後ろ宮バトラー
That's
まだ
supposed to
謎は
torment me. Come
残
on.
ってるぜ
Ishiramiya battler. There are still mysteries left. Beato had already countered my first powerful move, the 18th person X, by making the number of people on the island 17. Just limiting the number of people to 17 didn't overturn the theory that Aunt Ava was the culprit. I can crush most of the murders in the third game this way. Blood dripped from all over the body of the Golden Witch. I cornered her this time thoroughly without mercy. This isn't a game played to decide who wins and loses. We aren't playing. Even the time I spend playing and fighting like this delays my trip home. In her isolation, NJ will continue to have her heart torn apart by loneliness and sadness. I have to go back to NJ as fast as I can.
ボロボロだな。
You're all worn out.
虫の息ってやつか。
Standing at death's door, are you? So, after ranting about how he needs to finish it quickly, he decides to start taunting her.
まだまだ答えぬわ
It still doesn't burden
こ
me.
れくらい
Something like this. It tickles.
こそばよい
It
わ
tickles.
いらねえようだな。容赦。
Looks like you don't need mercy.
元よりそのつもりもなかろうが
I never asked for it in the first place.
存分に行くぜ。
I'm going all out. You've said that like 4 times. I thought we were still going all out.
そうせよ
Do it.
逆の立場だった時わらわは容赦しなかった
When our roles were reversed, I showed no
だか
mercy.
らそなたもそのチャンスがあったならそうす
You
る
ought
べ
to
き
do
で
the
あ
same
る
when given the chance to do the same.
じゃないと
Otherwise, they'll summon
ま
another
た別の
isolated
世界の孤独な演者を呼ん
NJ
で
from a different world.
今度は獅子を引きちぎって槍に刺して炙り焼きにしちまうぜ
And this time, I'll tear off her arms and legs, stick her with a spear, and roast her, okay? Okay?
黙れ
Shut up.
も
You're
う
gonna get
二度と
slammed. Never
俺の家
again.
族も
Not my
親
family.
族も
Not my
そして使
relatives.
用人のみんなも
Not even any of the
お
servants.
前のおもちゃにはさせねえぜ
I'm not letting you make any of those things their playthings.
俺はすでに第4のゲームの謎も全て青き真実で打ち破っている
I've already broken every mystery in the 4th game with the blue
残る
tree.
謎は第3のゲームの一番最後
The only one left is the last one from the 3rd game.
南條先生の殺人だけだぜ
Only the murder of Dr. Nanjo.
おやわらわはもうそんなところまで追い詰められていた
Have I already been cornered? So far.
わらわも風前のと
What a precarious state I'm in. Must be hard to think when you've been impaled by like 20 stakes. She did leave Game 4 so incredibly open, though. It's true. It made Game 4 so easy. She coughed violently, spitting up blood. Her insides had been punched through so many times. It was only natural.
ということはこの南條先生殺しの謎だけが
In other words, the mystery of
So
Dr.
now-
Nanja's murder is the last line of defense for you being a witch, right? As you say.
これを破られたならわらわは全ての謎を破られたことになる
If you defeat that, it means all of my mysteries have been defeated.
そなたの真実のいずれかを新しき赤き真実で反論するか
I counter one of your
新しき
truths
謎を提示
with
し
some
ない
new
限
red truth or present a new mystery.
りわらわは
I'll die.
死ぬ
追い詰められて風前の灯火って感じには見えねえぜ
You don't look like someone who's been pushed into a corner standing on the brink.
まだ何か隠し玉を持ってやがるな
You still have some kind of hidden pitch up your sleeve, right?
さて
Who knows?
どうかなわらわはもはや 2000年の長すぎる生涯に愛と
I'm already tired of a too long life after 1,000 years.
その果てに巡り合ったそなたという公的種によって生涯を閉じるのも
I've started
悪く
thinking,
ないと思い
having
始
this
め
life
て
ended by a rival like you, who I stumbled upon at the very end, it may not be so bad. You can do it,
そなたなら
can't you?
やれるよな
Kenny?
や
Kenny?
ってくれよ
Do it.
頼むよ殺してくれ
I'm
よ
begging you. Kill me.
殺してばっかりでさ殺された試しがねえんだ
I'm
よ
always the one killing. I've never had the experience of being killed.
お前ら18人を幾百と殺しては来たけれど殺された試しは一度もねえから
I've killed the 18 of you hundreds of times, but I haven't been killed even myself once.
一回くらいは経験してみてんだよ
I wanted to experience just once myself. It was a graceless show of boldness, unchanged from before. There's a Higurashi gacha, and it has Chester double zero Rika. Interesting. Interesting. How is that gacha doing? Most gachas die pretty quickly. But blood dripped from her mouth. Her once beautiful dress was covered with holes, and blood poured from all over her body, making her physical appearance stand in sharp contrast to her attitude. She says she's good to go, but she's on her last legs. Either she's got a trick or she's showing a lot of bravado. Maybe the shot she'd taken to the flank was still tormenting her, and she was still pressing down on it unconsciously without a trace of grace. But I've got no time for pity. As long as I feel sympathy for this witch, my family and I won't be released from this place. Until I defeat her, we won't be able to go home. In the outside world, it may be possible for even enemies to understand each other when circumstances change, but pure evil does exist. Evil that brings misfortune by existing, and is to be spared no compromise. Just by its continued existence alone, it's evil.
お前を哀れには思わない
I don't pity
お
you.
前が
Just like how you didn't show pity for any of us.
俺たちの誰にも憐れまなかったように
Is it time for Beatrice to get the boot?
そうともさ
Well, of course.
お前らなんてゲームの駒だぜ
All of you are just pieces in the game.
毎回毎回最初の6人は誰を殺そうか
It's
な
just unbelievably
次の2人を
fun.
どう殺そうかな
Imagine thinking about which six to kill in the beginning, how to kill the next two,
もっともっとグロい殺し方はねえかなって考えるのは最高に楽しいぜ
and whether I can find a much, much more grotesque method of murder, you see?
なあバトラよ
Battler?
少し改心するから今回も許してくれよ
Battler, I've reformed a little. Forgive me this time, too.
そしたらさもうちょっとマシな殺し方に変えてやるからよ
If you do, I'll change my methods of killing into something a little better, okay?
誰をどの順でどんな風に殺すかお前の希望も聞いてやるからよ
I'll listen to how you want them to be killed. What order you want, got it?
楽しいぜ人の命をもてあそぶってのはよ
It's so fun. Playing with people's toying with people's
お
lives.
前なら考えつくよエンジェをもっともっと
I'm sure you could think of a way to turn
クズ肉にしてや
NJ.
る方法はよ
It's so fun toying with people's lives. I'm sure you could think of a way to turn NJ into a pile of scrap meat much, much more thoroughly.
来いよバトラ
Come on, Battler.
南條殺し暴いてみろ
Try to expose the truth of Nanjo's murder? The 18th person X has been defeated, but I won't give in. I'll stop that witch's breathing cold. The end of the third game. It was announced in red. The survivors at that point in time, Battler, Ava, Jessica, and Nanjo, were all uninvolved with his murder, and it was proclaimed he was murdered directly by someone before his eyes. All other people had the strongest possible alibi by having their deaths proclaimed in red. I'll break through this without using 18th person X. Think. Don't stop thinking. A red doesn't only bind me, it's supposed to be her weak point. I gotta somehow use it against her. That's right. There's still a gap. This way, I can break through it. This way, Beatrice's Legend of the Witch is finished.
確か
Apparently
に
there's a
他の連中は死亡だったろうさ。
apparently there's a Higurashi gacha. That was interesting information to learn. And the Higurashi gacha, of course, has an Umineko event, because why wouldn't it? And a Steins Gate event. And a Clanad event. They got a lot of crossovers, man. Was not expecting to find that out. Alright. True, the others were probably dead.
だが赤で死亡を宣言されたのは南條先生が死んだ瞬間ではない。
However, their deaths were not proclaimed in red at the instant Dr. Nanjo
厳
died.
密に言えば南條先生の死体が見つかった後の俺とエヴァの戦いにおいてだ。
Strictly speaking, it's in the fight between me and Ava after Dr. Nanjo's corpse was
つ
found.
まり南條先生を殺した時点では生きていた何者かがエヴァの死亡宣言までの間に死亡していればその感激は縫えることにな
In
る。
other words, if someone was alive at the time Dr. Nanjo was killed and then died before Ava made the proclamation, you can sew right through that crack.
つまりはこういうことさ。
In other words, it's like this.
エヴァの死亡宣言で初めて死亡とされた人物の中に犯人がいて
Someone who was first proclaimed/confirmed dead by Ava's proclamation was a culprit.
その人物は最初うまいこと死んだふりをして俺たちをやり過ごした。
They cleverly played dead earlier and waited for us to come and go.
そして赤での死亡宣言がないまま俺たちには死んだと思い込ませた。
Before their death was announced in red, we were made to think they
そ
died.
して南條先
Then
生
they
を
killed
殺し
Nanjo
その後に何かの理由で
and
死
later
んだ。
died for some reason.
そしてその後にエヴァが赤で死亡宣言を出す。
After that, Ava proclaimed their death in
以
red.
上の仮説でも南條先生の事件は
The
説明
theory
で
can
きる。
explain Dr. Nanjo's case. I thought we proclaimed that all 6 people in the other room, all the people in the previous rooms were dead. I thought they were stated to be dead at the time of the murders. Did I miss that? Cannon was confirmed dead, but like, Cannon was confirmed dead. Jessica's confirmed dead. Everyone's confirmed dead at the time the body's discovered. I'm not sure that works with timing, Battler, but we'll see how it goes through. They were proclaimed dead after Nanjo died. No, I'm saying the other people were found during their trial, sort of trial thing we had. They were proclaimed dead at that time, i.e. the 6 people in the room, I believe were proclaimed dead. Cannon was proclaimed dead, even if we didn't find the body. Jessica was proclaimed dead. George and Co. were claimed dead. I don't know if they were claimed dead after Nanjo died, though. So maybe that's the group that was the killers? I thought that maybe I'm misremembering the sequencing of events, but I feel like during all of them there was at least, I'm not sure like who would survive or who would be the killer there to do the killing, because I thought during all the trials we confirmed people were dead. Like we confirmed all the 6 were dead during their trial in the 3rd arc. We definitely said Cannon was dead, but I mean I'm like giving Cannon wiggle room for his name. But like I don't know about like George and stuff. Bit iffy. But alright. How's that, Beatrice? When he forcefully asked that question, there was a terrible sound that could only be likened to that of a compressor. And a blue stake that was as thick as a log appeared from under the earth and skewered the golden witch, Beato pulling her up into the air. Well, that sounds unpleasant. Kraus, Natsuki, and George were not said in red. Oh, thank you. Kraus, Natsuki, and George were not confirmed to have been slain. Alright. Well, then it could have been them because their deaths have not yet been announced in red. Ugly tearing sounds rang out. And each time a blue stake or wedge would appear and pierce Beatrice's body. Like, I'll give you room for that, leave you room for that because I don't actually remember how that went. Yeah. So, ugly tearing sounds. Each time a blue stick or wedge appears and pierces Beatrice's body. Oof. When that finally ended, her tragic form was exposed over there, pin-cushioned by more than 10 stakes, and wedges all over her body and dripping with blood. Dangling and crucified. There was none of the dignity of the brutal witch who sneered at the honor of the dead and toyed and killed hundreds of the living. So is she gone now? The rain, which had started falling at some point, quietly tormented the crucified witch. As Battler heaved with his breathing, he waited for some kind of answer from the Golden Witch. Although it wasn't long, it took the witch a bit of time to show any signs of life. It hurts.
You
got what you deserve.
お前が殺めてきた人々の痛みの一部を。
Now you can experience a portion of the pain felt by all those you have killed. It's okay. Beatrice is not real in the first place. Even as he said that, it seemed Battler lost a bit of his momentum at this extremely pathetic sight. Even if it was an enemy, he couldn't look straight at a woman exposed in such a brutal fashion. Even so, unless he destroyed Beatrice, this battle wouldn't end.
Battler,
I beg you.
頼むよ。
Beato let out a sob.
痛えよ。
It hurts.
すげえ。
It really
痛えよ。
did.
終わらせて。
End it.
終わらせて。これでも
Even with this, I still.
まだ死ねねえんだよ。こんなに痛えのに
Even though it hurts so much, I still.
死ねねえんだよ。
俺に何を
What are you asking
求
of
めや
me?
がる。
End
終
it.
わらせて。
Release me from this pain. Beato's expression was soaked with blood and tears. Battler certainly had been tricked by her at one point, so he probably was able to suspect that her expression, even her tears, were an act. However, Battler believed in those tears. After all, those tears had the red of truth mixed in them.
どうすりゃいい
What should I
ど
do?
うすれば
How can I end your
お
pain?
前の痛みを終わらせられる
I will now
今からすべてを
expose
さ
everything.
らすから。それが
This is
わらわの
my
心臓。
心臓
your heart.
ロス
ベアト
Beato. Beato.
殺し
Kill. Just
もう
does he kill you, Does he kill Bay? Yep. Battler's got some pretty. Battler's got a pretty strong NP. Looping on single targets seems good. Just let. Die. Not enough lung capacity to scream. Feels bad. Were those tears from pain and torment, or else? Either way, that pathetic expression was painful for Battler to look at, even after burning with such anger.
早く
Quickly, go back to Enche.
ヘンゼのところに帰っ
帰るためじゃない
I'll listen to your
お前
request.
の痛みを止めるためにお前の願いを聞く
Not so I can go back, but to end your pain. Thank
ありがと
you.
うバトラ
Batala.
ー。
In her last breath, Beato summoned all her remaining strength and managed to close both her hands into fists. A red light began to gather at those fists. She lifted up her arms as though appealing to the heavens for something.
バトラーなら
You'll be able to kill me. All of me.
私のすべて心臓
All
を
of my heart.
潰
Crush
し
it.
て貫
Pierce
抜
it.
いて
Okay. The red light around both her arms gradually began strengthening.
おね
That's a please. If the onegai part of onegai shimasu wasn't obvious. After saying that much, her face tilted to the side a bit, and then her right arm lost its light and flopped down. But her left arm alone didn't lose its light and remained held out toward the heavens. Hey, it's Shadow Beatrice's shade. Alright, then before Battler's eyes, another Beato appeared with a faint form, transparent like a curtain. The crucified Beato had already lost consciousness. However, the newly minted Beatrice appeared faint and quietly looked at me, her eyes expressionless, and spoke.
後宮バトラ
Ushiromiya
今
Battle.
から私があな
I
た
will
を
now
殺
kill
し
you.
ます。
それで
And
そしてたった今
right
こ
now,
の島にはあなた以外誰もいません。
there is no one other than you on this island.
この島で生きているのはあなただけです。
The only one alive on this island is you.
島の外の存在は一切干渉できません。
Nothing outside the island can interfere. I understand. This is the last mystery Beatrice will be able to make as a witch. She's trying to offer it to me, entreating to me, solve this final mystery, and kill her.
来いよ。お前の最後の謎。俺が
I'll
受け取って
accept
やる。
your final mystery.
この島にあなたはたった一人。
You are all alone on this
そ
island,
してもちろん
And I am,
私
of
は
course,
あなたではない。
not
なの
you.
に私は今ここにい
Yet I'm here now, and I'm about to
て
kill
これ
you.
からあなたを殺します。
南條先生殺しの謎の強化版ってわけか。
Like a souped up version of Dr. Nanjo's murder.
それで
So,
私は誰？
who am I?
それがお前の
Is
最後
this
の出題なの
your
か。
final question?
私は
Who
誰？
am I? Then Beatrice slowly approached me and, still expressionless, held me. I get it, Beato. I'll kill you, don't worry. I also slowly held her head, and as I as a piece, left the game board. Watashi wa dare? Who am I? Battler died on the 10th Twilight. Shiramiya died in 1998. Maria died on 10th Twilight. Saktaro didn't die. Inzo 9th. Ryo 7th. Natsuhi 1st. Jessica the 2nd. Ava the 1st. Hideyoshi the 1st. George the 2nd. Saktaro came back from the grave. Rudolph died on the 1st. Kyrie the 8th. Rosa the 1st. Taramasa the 6th. Genji the 1st. That RNG Genji. Shannon the 5th. Cannon the 4th. Goda the 9th. Chio the 9th. Or Kumasawa, sorry. Yeah, this song's pretty good. Virgilia, Runaway, Lucifer. Oh, we're going through all these names. That was alright. If he's still dying, what's the easiest mystery? He died of a broken heart. Easy solved. It's suicide, existing injuries, natural disaster, or emotional trauma resulting in physical death. Okay? He died of shock from all the goats. Wait, did it say all the goats? I looked away for a second. Oh my goodness. Beato is suffering. Fourth game, Alliance of the Golden Witch. I mean, being Beato is suffering. Alright, Umineko Naku Korun no Naku Koruni. Of Wish and Reasoning. The question mark is the post credits is short. All right, good to know. We've reached the end of chapter 4. Battler solved the mystery. He was carried through not only by Beatrice, but also someone from the future. I think we got ourselves a witch's tea party to go to. Let's check that out. That tea party took way longer than I expected. But it wasn't too bad. It was I'm glad we finished the arc, because like it was really anticlimactic just be like, boop, we're done. So I'm kind of okay with that. Although it didn't feel like a post-credit scene or a post-chapter scene because we were still in the chapter. Unknown fragment. Fucked if I know what number that is. And it auto-skipped it, so I wasn't gonna have time to read it anyway. Awesome. Scattered on a large bed were cute jelly beans of various colors. Oh, okay. And chocolates shaped like ohajiki pieces. Ohajiki pieces? Alright, what's ohajiki? Now I'm curious. A fork was stuck into a shortcake peeking out of a gift box. And there were decanters with drinks of various colors lined up on a side table. Okay. But the color of the partially finished drink that had been poured into a cup was venomous, matching none of the decanters. Is this in the room with the gold? That was my first thought when I saw the 4-poster bed. Someone had probably been playing around mixing various 4-poster bed, mixing various things together. All right, that can be lots of fun if you don't mind the taste. Maria wanted to do that. Could this be Maria as a witch? On top of the fluffy bed were several colorful big pillows, like something from a dream. And on this bed that looked like something out of a child's dream world. Clearly not. It's Lambda Delta and Burn Castell. I'm just gonna take a second to take in the picture. All the candy everywhere. Burn Castell seems bored, and Lambda Delta is like hugging a plush giant pillow. A plush pillow. I was gonna say a plush giant jelly bean, but I mean it's just a pillow. It's a pillow. Burn Castell lay face down. That's she's kind of laying on her side there, not quite face down. And Lambda Delta lay face up, clutching a pillow and relaxing. That's pretty thrilling this time, wasn't it? I got really panicky when Beato said she'd stop the game.
これだけのゲームを始めておいて投げっぱなしで終えようとするなんて失礼な魔女よね。
What a rude way. What a rude witch to start a game like this and try to end it by throwing it away. A normal Ah yes, two witches casually sharing a bed. They're clearly just friends. Yeah. Like they just live together and they just live together and are always seen together, and then they hold hands. They're just friends, I swear, guys. Wasn't NJ a good piece? After Beato ran for it, NJ dragged her back and made her resume the game. Although it's a shame she gave Battler a little too much enthusiasm. After all, I knew Battler was a softie. No kidding. Yep, we all kill and try and kill our friends every now and then, right? You just laugh it off. What's a casual stabbing between friends? No kidding. He looked like he might even go easy on Beato, his enemy.
前回の流れから下手するとベアトに同情しておかしな方向にゲームを流すかもしれないって 危惧してたの。
I was uneasy that, like in the last game, we might actually feel compassion for Beato and take the game in a weird direction.
エンジェはバトラがゴールを誤解した時に再誘導するための切り札よ。
NJ was a trump card to get Battler back on track when he mistook his goal.
本当はもっとサポートさせてそれから切りたかったんだけどね。
Although I wanted her to support him a bit more before using her up.
いきなり切らされたわ。
She really did get used right off the bat.
仕込みに随分かかった駒なのにもったいなかった。
What a waste for a piece that required so much preparation. Boing.
例の名乗っちゃダメルール枷にしておいてよかっ
Good thing I shackled her with that rule about not giving her
た。
name.
あれを設けなかったら兄弟タッグ大活躍でペアとはあっという間に飲み込まれてゲームエンドだったわ。
If that hadn't been set up, the brother-sister tag team would have swallowed Beato up and won in the blink of an eye.
一気に畳みかけるチャンスかと思ったんだけど。
I thought it'd be a chance for them to press her all at once.
あんたのマークがきつくてうまく活かせなかったわ。
But your mark was so restrictive I couldn't make the best use of her.
ああ、もったいない駒だった。
What a waste that piece was.
当然でしょ。あんなずるい駒とっととリタイアしてくれないと困るわ。
Isn't it obvious? Such an unfair piece would have to be retired right away. At least this Witches Tea Party is actually closer to a Witches Tea Party than some of the previous Witches Tea Parties we've had. Some of them included nothing but humans who were dead talking. It's supposed to be for people who are like, you know, not human. So 2 witches hanging out talking in bed seems fair. Seems at least like accurate to the description. Unlike the last Tea Party.
まあ
Which
結
was the
果的
end
に
of chapter
ゲーム
4.
中断を阻止する活躍をしてくれたしそれは私にとっても助かることだった。
Well, in the end, she did a good job of preventing the suspension of the game, and that helps me out too.
互いの利害が一致する活躍をしてくれたという意味においては本当に素晴らしい駒だったわよ。
That, the way she made both her interests match, is what made her a truly wonderful piece.
バトラと同じで単純な子だったから簡単に私の言いなりになってくれたわ。
She was an innocent kid like Battler, so it was easy to get her to do as I said.
駒にするならバカか直情型よね。
Morons and impulsive types make the best pieces.
ああ、本当に惜しい駒だったわ。
I really can't stand losing that piece.
その子も今じゃひき肉
But now that kid's minced meat.
ねえ後で一緒にそれでハンバーグ作りましょうよ。
Let's make hamburgers out of her later on.
餃子の方が好きだっけ？
Didn't you like gyoza more?
妹味ってどんな味かしら？
I wonder what little sister
笑える。
takes like. Hilarious.
あんた、そんな余裕でいいの？
Is it really okay for you to be relaxed?
エンジェのおかげでバトラは奮起。
Thanks to NJ, Battler's gotten all fired up.
ベアとを猛追し始め、今やだいぶ私が有利なゲーム展開だと思うけど。
I'm pretty sure he's started a hot pursuit of Beato, making this game take a big turn in my favor, right?
というかバトラ、今回でこれまでのほとんどの謎を解いちゃったんじゃない？
I mean, didn't Battler just solve almost all the mysteries up until now?
はあ？
Uh?
とんでもない。
Not even close.
バトラの青き真実なんてほとんど外れてるわよ。
Almost all of Battler's blue truth was wrong.
ベアとのぬるい赤なんて隙間だらけだもの。
Beato's lukewarm red is full of holes. What, you didn't think tiny bombs was a good answer?
多少は知恵の回る子だったら適当にへりくつ並べりゃ簡単にすり抜けられるわ。
If she had any brains in her, she'd slip through it easily by setting up a suitable web of twisted logic.
ああ、本当にイライラしたわよ。
It really ticks me off.
私だったらどれもこれも徹底的に赤で切り返してるわ。
If it were me, I'd thoroughly cut down all of it with the red.
あら、そうだったの？
Oh, really?
私はてっきり、あれらが正解だと思ってたわ。
And I was sure all those were correct.
小型爆弾を飲み込ませてうんぬんは、
I
さすが
don't
に
know
どう
about
か
the
と
small
思ってた。
bombs part, though. I'm going back to small bombs. All right.
バトラの青き真実だって 全部が有効になってはいないわ。
Not all of Battler's blue truths are valid. I think some of them were really
ベ
weak.
アとは第一のゲームにおいて
When talking about the first game, Beato clearly
身元
declared
不
that
明死体についてその身元を全て保証する
she
とはっき
guaranteed the
り明言
identities
している。
of all unidentified
これ
corpses.
によりバトラのエヴァ秀吉の密室殺人の犯人は偽装死体を演じた何者かという推理は破られて
This
るのよ。
defeats Battler's theory about the culprit of the Eva Hideyoshi closed-room murder being someone who faked up a corpse.
次にボイラー室のカノンは事故死だったろうとしてるけど
Next, Cannon might have died in an accident in the boiler room, but... the door?
自分の胸に杭が突き刺さっちゃう事故って何よ。
What kind of accident could drive a stake into its chest?
ばっかじゃない。
Are you an idiot?
私が赤き宝刀とやらで切ってやるわよ。
I'll slice it with that red treasure and sword thing.
カノンは事故死ではない。
Cannon didn't die in an
そ
accident.
の次の客までの源氏たち3人の殺人の時計回りに同時に射殺して死に合ったとかいう相打ち殺人も滑稽だわ。
For the next one, the murders of the three, including Genji in the parlor. The thought that it was a simultaneous murder where they shot each other in a clockwise pattern at the same time is laughable.
源氏、熊沢、南條は殺人者ではない。
Genji, Kumasawa, and Nanjo are not killers.
最後の夏日殺しのトラップ X もバカバカしいわ。
The final trap X to kill Nazi is also ridiculous.
夏日を射殺したのはトラップじゃなく、ちゃんと銃を構えて引き金を引いてしっかり射殺したのよ。
The thing that shot Nazi wasn't a trap, it was a real shooting murderer with a gun raised and trigger pulled.
ご愁傷様。
Sucks for you.
あんたダメよ。
You shouldn't do that.
そんなこと
Oh,
あ
it
った
is the
り
gold
な
room.
っちゃ
Yeah, the gold room. Saying something like that in red.
あの子夏日の銃弾を魔法で跳ね返して殺したってことにしてるんだから。
That kid's trying to say that she bounced Nazi's bullet back with magic and killed her.
あらあらいけない。そうだったわ
Oh
ね。
my. How terrible of me, you're right.
第二のゲームの青き真実だって甘すぎよ。
Even the blue truth for the second game was way too naive. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, they were pretty far-fetched.
礼拝堂での6人の殺害時、
When the six were murdered
犯
in the
人は
chapel,
礼拝堂内にいたわ。
the culprit was inside the chapel. That's fine. I mean, I already gave an explanation for the chapel murder anyway. That wasn't Battler's explanation, that worked a little bit better. And it's that Rosa's the killer.
あいつ、何でもかんでもトラップ X で説明しようとするわよね。
That guy keeps trying to explain things using Trap X.
トラップ X って何よ。変なミステリー小説のお約束。
It's Trap X, some weird mystery novel cliche.
使用人室で
Hmm.
南條と熊沢が殺された事件のカノンの名前を世襲したとかいうのも滑稽だわ。
It's also laughable to say in the case where Nanju and Kumasawa were killed in the servant room, someone else inherited the canon's name. Yeah, that one's pretty stupid. I can agree with you, Lambda Delta.
カノンの名を名乗ることができるのは本人のみ。
No one else can go by Kanon's name. Yeah, that one's pretty straightforward. That one didn't make sense. Who would have the association or attachment to take up Kanon's name when Kanon is the youngest person? I could see you take up the name of someone older who mentored you. I don't see you taking up this a friend's name. It doesn't work as well, especially for furniture.
異なる人間が名乗ることはできない。
A different person can't claim that as their name. Yep.
夏日の部屋のローザからマスターキーを借りたという推理もダメ
And the
ダメ。
theory of pouring the match key from Rosa for Natsuhi's room is also worthless. I mean, if Rosa's the killer, it works really well.
ローザがマスターキーを管理して以降、それらすべては一度たりとも彼女の手を
After the
離
master
れてい
keys
ない。
came into Rosa's control, never did any of them leave her hands.
夏日の部屋を開錠した時にバトラに貸し出した際を除いてね。
Except for the time she lent one to Battler to unlock Natsuhi's room.
まだ
Thanks,
まだ
Linda.
続くけど、ざっと軽く見てもこんな感じかしら。
I can keep going, but taking a quick look at them turns out like this, get it?
軽くも何もあんた 第一と第二のゲームにおけるバトラの青き真実軒並み
Get it
否定
quickly.
しちゃったじゃない。
You denied Battler's blue truth for the first and second games across the board.
あらなん
What
て
a
こと。
shame. It's okay, some of those were really weak.
バトラがそれ
I
を
was
聞
kind
い
of
たら
surprised that he was
そっと
losing.
しちゃうわね。
I was kind of surprised he was winning and didn't lose from some of those. They were kind of easy to disagree with. But it is what it is. After all, the story must go on, and maybe the author did not want to make Chapter 4 way the fuck longer.
ね
Right?
ベア
Right?
とは全然追い詰められてなんかいないのよ。
Beato wasn't cornered at
あ
all.
の子、やっぱりなかなかの役者だわ。
Looks like that kid's a good actress
き
after
っと
all.
今回のゲームでは、一見追い詰められたふりをしてみせて、
I'm sure she planned on making it look like she was getting cornered this game.
次のゲームあたりで、バサーッと赤で一刀両断にして、バトラをびっくり仰天させる作戦でしょうよ。
And then next game, bang, she'll slice it up with a single red stroke to make it Battler Freak.
それできっとまた、大笑いしながら言うんだわ。
And I'm sure she'll say it again with a huge smile.
魔女はピンチになんかなりませんって。
Bitches never get into a pinch.
じゃああのベアとの追い詰められたみたいな悲壮感は全部演技なの？
And the tragic atmosphere as though Beato was getting cornered was all an act.
そうに決まってるじゃない。
Isn't it
あい
obvious?
つ本当に大女優よね。
She really is a great
全
actress.
然追い詰められてなんかいないのに、最終回顔負けのクライマックス感だったわ。
Even though she wasn't cornered at all, it felt like an astonishing last episode climax.
今年の助演女優賞はあいつに決定ね。
She's definitely the winner of Best Supporting Actress this year.
もちろん主演は私だけど、
But of course, I'm the star.
ベルンでもいいわよ。
You do fine too, Burn.
私を殺したみたいなことを言って最後に大きな謎を出したわよ。
At the end, she said something like, kill me, and laid out a big riddle.
それを解かれたらベアとは今度こそおしまいの排水の陣じゃないの？
Wasn't that her last stand with Beato to be finished for good if that riddle was solved?
やだ、ベルンまで騙されてるの？
Were you seriously tricked too, Burn?
あんなの排水の陣でもなんでもない。
I wasn't even close to a last
ベ
stand.
アとはね、まだまだどぎつい奥の手を温存してるわ。
Beato's still holding back a hidden killer move.
最後の謎を出すために両腕を突き出した時、右腕だけ下ろしたの気づいてた？
When she struck out both hands to give the final riddle, did you notice how she lowered her right hand?
ああ、そういえ
Now that you
ば
mention
あ
it,
れはそういう意味だったわ
is that what she meant?
そういうわけ。
Sure is.
あの子はまだまだ奥の手を残してる。
She still had plenty of hidden moves
そ
left,
して何も謎は解かれちゃいない。
and none of the mysteries have been solved.
それをまるで全て
Attention.
カンポされて次回最終回み
Like
たい
she'd
な
been
テンションにしちゃうなんて。
And the next episode would be her
つ
last.
くづくあの子は演技の天才よ。
She's a genius at acting.
早くバトラをどん底に叩き落とすところが見てやり
I
た
want
い
to see her
わ。
knock Battler down to the very bottom right away.
あの子、前回のゲームの北風と太陽作戦ですっかり味を占めちゃったんじゃない？
Kid's been totally encouraged by her North Wind of the Sun strategy from last time, right?
バトラ、きっとまたベアトに同情してコロッと引っかかるわよ。
I'm sure Battler will sympathize with Beato again and fall for it completely.
女の涙は一粒で男を騙せるからね。実に安上がりでお得よね。
Oh, Lambda, nice. A single tear from a woman can fool a man. Totally economical and profitable.
バトラ、またその手に引っかかっちゃうかしら。
I wonder if Battler will get caught by the same move again. He has been declared incompetent.
二度と
Not
同情し
impossible.
ないように私もバトラを焚きつけない
I've got to spur him on so he never feels sympathy
と
again.
当分はエンジェのひき肉で焚きつけられそうだけどね。
Although NJ's mincemeat seems to have done that pretty
エン
well.
ジ味のハンバーグでパワーアップ？
A power up from an NJ flavored hamburger.
もちろんこっちも負けないわよ。
Of course, I won't lose either.
ここからバトラと拮抗するくらいに盛り返せるようベアトを徹底的にサポートするもの。
Good night, my friend. Starting here, I'll thoroughly support Beato to rally her up enough to compete with
負
Battler.
けないわよベアトは。
Beato won't
負
lose.
けたら素敵な罰ゲームがあるわよってきっちり脅してるもん。
I'm threatening her with a wonderful punishment game if she loses.
あんたの罰ゲーム本気でシャレにならないから少し加減した方がいいわよ。
Your punishment games are seriously not cool. You should go a little easy on her.
ベルに次に罰ゲームをできるときはこうしようって決めてるのがあるの。
I decided what to do for your next punishment game, Burn.
聞きたい聞きたい。
Wanna hear? Wanna hear?
嫌よ。
No.
もう聞いてよ。
Come on, ask me.
あのね
Guess what? Guess what? Guess
ベ
what?
ルの素敵なお城に閉じ込めてあげる
I'll
の。
lock you in a wonderful, wonderful
そ
castle.
のお城は真っ白な純白の城壁に囲まれていて、一辺は12km、
The castle will be surrounded by pure white castle walls, 12 kilometers to a side,
高さは10mあるの。
with a height of 10
魔
meters.
法とズルは禁止。
Magic and tricks are prohibited.
とても飛び越せないわよね。
You really couldn't jump over that, right? Right?
14億4000万竜兵
1,440,000,000 cubic meters?
話のうちが読めたからもういいわよ。
You can stop there. I already know what you're gonna say.
そこをね、毎日一粒ずつの宝石で埋めていくの。
And the place will start getting buried with gems, one every
それ
day.
で城壁いっぱいに溜まるまでベルを閉じ込めて、その宝石で埋め殺す
I'll lock you in until the castle walls are packed with them, and then you'll be buried to death with gems.
の。素敵なロマンチックな罰ゲームでしょ。
Isn't it a wonderful romantic punishment game?
一辺を5倍にしていいから高さを10分の1にしてくれたら今から閉じ込めてもいいわよ。
If you multiply the length of the walls by 5 and make it 1/10 its current height, I wouldn't mind if you shut me in right now. Wouldn't that be a 1 meter high wall?
ほんと
Really?
？36億竜兵になるわよ。
That'd make it 3.6 billion cubic meters, right?
罰ゲームが倍以上の期間になるわよ。
The punishment game, time period for the punishment game would be more than double, right? Right?
そんなにも長い
I
間
gotta keep
虜に
you
なってくれるのね。
as my prisoner for such a long
ベル
time.
大好き。愛してる。
I like you, Burn. I love you. I really like you. The wall would be 1 meter high, so she can just walk out of it, right? Lambda's great at math. She's good at math, not at visualizing things in 3 dimensions. She asked for 1/10 the height. Lambda Delta playfully approached Burn Castell, who yawned, looking bored as though she touched the bottom of Lambda Delta's chin, like cuddling a cat.
ベルンはバトラの勝利にかけてて、
You're betting on Battler's big victory.
私は二人が永遠に引き分けになるのにかけてる。
And I bet on an eternal tie for the two of
そ
them.
れで誰かベアとの勝利にはかけてないの？
Does that mean no one's betting on Beato's victory?
かけないわよ。
I wouldn't.
勝率ゼロだもん。
Her chances of winning are 0.
奇跡の魔女に奇跡ゼロって言われるのも本当にお気の毒。
True, true. How truly pitiful being told by the Witch of Miracles that there's no chance of a miracle.
私もかけないけどね。
I wouldn't bet on her either, right?
絶対。
I can say that with certainty.
絶対の魔女に絶対ダメって言われるのもお気の
Also
毒。
pretty sad when the Witch of Certainty says you're screwed. There's no winning. Unusually for them, they giggled
こ
together.
のゲームどういう決着に終わるかしら。
I wonder how the game will resolve itself.
さすがにそれだけは読めないわ。
The one thing we can't predict.
だから楽しいわけだし。
Why it's fun.
もう逃げも中断も許さない。
It won't permit escaping or suspensions any longer.
絶対にゲームを続けさ
I'll
せる。
certainly make them continue their
逃が
game.
さない。
And I won't let them run away. Oh, I'd just like to point out from the start, like, the second we moved to, like, this weird tea room area, or we moved out of the tea room area for the discussion and into, like, the garden where suddenly people were getting impaled by spikes, that's when, like, we obviously went off into Beatrice's weird tangent realm or some shit, where it's, like, really suspicious. It's like everything becomes suspicious, as it should be taking place in our normal narrative location with no obstructions. But we randomly had our, like, last confrontation in this garden we'd never seen before. For seemingly no reason. Oh, well, hopefully the next part's interesting. We'll get our hook, I guess, at the start of the next one. I won't permit escaping or suspensions any longer. I'll certainly make them continue their game, and I won't let them run away.
これからどんな風に展開していくのか想像もつかないけれど
Even though I can't imagine what'll happen next.
絶対にありえない決着の仕方だけはわかるわ
I know it certainly won't end that way. But I mean, people were randomly getting impaled when Battler proposed Blue Truths, which wasn't happening when he first started wielding the Blue Truth. So there was some element of something weird going on there. The minute they got there and he proposed the first Blue Truth. You should be like, oh, that's not how Blue Truths have been working in the past. It certainly won't end that way.
ベアトが勝って終わることだけはないわね。
At the very least, it won't end with Beato's victory.
だって
I mean, think about it.
私もベルンも
Neither
ど
of
っ
us.
ちもベアトの勝利にかけてないんだもん
Either of us is betting on Beato's
つ
victory.
まりベアトが勝ちそうになったら私たち二大魔女を敵に回すことになる
In other words, if it looks like Beato's gonna win, she'll have us two great witches as enemies.
そういうことね。
Exactly.
私たちの力が最も均衡するのは引き分けとバトラ有利の中間で均衡している場合のみ。
Our powers are most in equilibrium when balancing between a tie and Battler's
ベア
advantage.
と有利に傾きすぎれば私たちは共に同じベクトルに団結してベアトを引きずり戻す。
If it tips too much in Beato's favor, both of us will line up along the same vector and drag Beato back.
つまりベアと優勢になった瞬間私たち二人をまとめて敵に回すってこと
In
よ
other words, the instant Beato's in a superior position, she'll have to deal with both of us as enemies.
ベルンと共闘楽しい
A common front with Baron. It sounds so fun.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
でもコンペイ島のお風呂には一緒に入らないわよ。
But I'm not going into a Competo candy bath with you.
へえコンペイ島のシャワーを浴びながら
I was gonna cover you with melted
と
marshmallow.
ろけたマシュマロを塗りたくってあげるのに
Taking a Competo shower. How
気の
pitiful.
毒にあの子は私と遊ぶためにラムダが捕まえてきた生きたおもちゃお人形だわ。
The child is a living toy, a doll you caught so you could play with me, Lambda.
私お人形遊びは上手なの
Good at playing with dolls, poor Satoko.
ほんと上手に遊べるのよ
I can do it really well, okay?
飽きずに一つのおもちゃで何百年も遊べるのが自慢なの
I'm proud of being able to play with a single toy for hundreds of years without getting tired
あ
of
る
it.
時は味方しある時は敵対し
You're her ally at times, and opposed her at others. Oh, she's talking about Burn Cut. She's talking about, Beatrice.
永遠にもて遊び続ける。
Toying with her for all eternity.
かわいそうにね。
How
あの
pitiful.
子はもう私たちのお
The
人形。
kid's now our doll.
そういうことよ
Kid's our doll.
あの子は私たちのお人形私たち二人の望む末路しか用意されてない
No end is prepared for that kid except the ones the two of us
つ
desire.
まり
In other words,
私によって永遠に引き分けが繰り返されるか
I can say for sure this can only end by repeating in a tie for eternity because of me.
ベルンによってベアトが敗北して滅ぼされるかでしか終わらないと
Or with Beato losing.
奇跡の魔女として宣言するわ。
Or with Beato losing and being destroyed because of you burn. As far as this game ending with Beato's victory goes, I will proclaim it as the Witch of Miracles.
なら私は絶対の魔女として宣言する
And
わ
I will proclaim it as the Witch of Certainty.
ベアトは絶対に勝利できない
Beato certainly cannot
そ
win.
して奇跡は絶対に起こらない
And a miracle certainly will not occur. It's not in red text, though. It's not in red text, starts sweating nervously. They're laughing, but it's not in red text. They laughed, but it wasn't red text. I liked Burn Castell's laughing face there. That was actually a cute laughing face. I think it was supposed to look ugly, but and I think Lambda's was scary, but I was like, oh, Burn Castell's laughing face is kind of amusing. Alright, that was pretty long. But at least we're going into Chapter 5 knowing something's happening. What's gonna happen? Well, we have an idea. We have a theory for the chapel case. Or where we'll go next for the chapel case. The small bomb is obviously a bad one. I think we could fix... I'm not sure how to solve Natsuhi's death off the top of my head. Thoughts about who, what Burn Castell and Lambda are? Are we supposed to be thinking about who Burn Castell, Lambda, and Beatrice actually are? I wasn't aware that was a thing we were supposed to be doing. What are they? I mean, I'm like not sure how to like answer that. They're like witches, so they presumably don't exist. Are they supposed to be representing something? The premise is that they don't exist. I'm not really sure what they're supposed to be. Check the tips. Beato asked us to solve who she is. The other two you'd say are optional. Alright, well I can go look into it. I can look into it. Like, they could be fabrications of someone else's mind. Someone else's imagination, like Battler's imagination from when he was a kid or some shit. That could, when he was younger, he could have invented this shit. Like, who knows? Because he apparently has some sin from 6 years ago, but it's not connected to Beatrice. We still haven't got a resolution on that, which is kind of weird, I guess. Unless it's like Beatrice bullshitting us. The outro credits track is actually kind of nice. I like this outro track. Yeah, theory. I'm supposed to have theories on who Burn Castell actually is. I don't really think we've been offered names as to who Burn Castell and Lambda Delta are supposed to be. It's the episode 1 Tea Party outro track? Yeah. Do we even have any new names to attach to these people other than like more fictitious witches invented by somebody else? Because that's like my current working premise, is that they're also fictitious characters created by someone else. If all witches are fake, then those witches are also fake, and it just might be a different universe that invented them. Might even be Battler. Since Battler consistently says that it's useless. Or it's impot. Like, he seems fairly certain all the time when he says stuff, so why not? You have more than enough to understand that those two, at least 75%? I see. Okay, new background. We definitely finished this. Let's once over our tips, episode 4 tips. Some of those hints were interesting, and some of them seemed like things I'd already read, so I once over them and, like, I've already read the epitaph a few times. I've read the logs a few times. That was interesting. But it's getting late. Alright, that was very interesting, but it is getting late, so I think it is time we ramp things up. Next up, Chapter 5.